Chapter 965. Battle for the title and armor pieces as Celice plotted against Michael. Manipulating Quintus as yet another pawn in her game, Michael found solace above the clouds, floating amidst the celestial beauty of the starry sky and the presence of 3 majestic sapphire moons. Amidst the chaos of schemes, vengeance, and the weight of his Dark Lord responsibilities, Michael occasionally forgot to appreciate the breathtaking wonders of this world. However, once he had vanquished his adversaries and settled his score, a burning desire ignited within him to embark on a journey to those enigmatic moons, to uncover the mysteries that lay hidden within their ethereal embrace. While he luxuriated in the celestial beauty, a chilling reminder of his ruthless nature stained Michael's hand, the blood of Quintus' wife and her entire family. These were not innocent lives, for Saber had unearthed a macabre secret in their backyard. A burial ground concealing the remains of countless enslaved individuals who toiled under Quintus' roof. However, their deaths were not solely a consequence of their actions. Michael's unwavering devotion to safeguarding Gaia, his beloved, propelled him to eliminate any potential threat. Mercy, even towards his adversaries, held the potential to endanger the safety of his cherished one. Thus, he resolved to protect Gaia at any cost, an oath he would not allow any flicker of leniency to compromise. "My lord." Azazel flew gracefully through the clouds, his eyes wide with shock and awe. He bowed before Michael, his admiration evident. The Dark Lord's uncanny ability to foresee events had left Azazel astonished. "Take a look at this, my lord." Azazel presented a tablet-sized mirror to Michael, a reflection of a gruesome tableau. The mirror unveiled a gory spectacle within its depths, a hall strewn with the lifeless bodies of soldiers and nobles. Blood adorned the walls in macabre patterns, leaving a chilling testament to the savagery that had unfolded. Scorch marks marred the surroundings, and once magnificent statues stood melted and disfigured by the unforgiving heat. The sheer amount of blood spilled was a testament to the carnage that had transpired. It was Azazel's masterful orchestration that brought about this scene, for Michael had no need to soil his hands when he had his trusted demon butler by his side. The Dark Lord's vengeance had been unleashed upon Quintus' wife and her father alone. Within the mirror, amidst the crimson chaos, Azazel pointed out a hazy white figure to Michael, a presence that piqued his curiosity and confirmed his suspicions of an unknown force operating in the shadows. "My lord." This fleeting blur appeared for a mere moment within the hall. "Initially, I dismissed it as a glitch or a stray speck of dust. However, you had foreseen its arrival," Azazel explained, his voice tinged with intrigue. Michael's cunning plan had unfolded flawlessly, leaving Azazel astounded. After executing his vengeance upon Quintus' family, Michael had left a spider, a small surveillance device, concealed within their home. Its purpose was to record and transmit all subsequent events. The Dark Lord harbored a suspicion that the unknown force operating in the shadows was in league with Quintus, and he anticipated their presence within Quintus' abode upon receiving a message written in blood. True to his intuition, someone or something had materialized as expected. Michael allowed a wry smile to grace his lips, pleased with the success of his plan. He quickly focused his attention on the blurry figure captured by the spider's lens. With precision, he zoomed in on the image, straining his eyes to discern any discernible humanoid features. He swiped the screen, switching between different camera angles provided by the spiders in the vicinity. Regrettably, the elusive figure manifested and vanished with such speed that none of the spiders managed to capture a clear image. As the blurry figure caught Michael's attention, a flicker of recognition stirred within him, reminiscent of someone he had encountered before, Andreas. Unbeknownst to him, this ethereal presence was another iteration of Andreas, one that had met its demise at his hands. The Andreas currently aligned with Celice had emerged from the depths of hatred for the Dark Lord, infused with the essence of hell flames. Nevertheless, the presence of the hazy figure served as confirmation that a formidable force was operating covertly against him. It propelled Michael further along his path toward eradicating these hidden adversaries. With a sense of satisfaction, Michael acknowledged the flawless execution of his plan. Now all that remained was to bide his time, patiently awaiting the arrival of his adversaries. In his amusement, he likened their impending approach to that of a sacrificial goat, unknowingly drawn to its appointed butcher. A chuckle escaped his lips, filled with an air of sinister anticipation. "Now, let's just wait here and let the goat come running to its butcher," Michael chuckled. Michael devised two strategies to confront Quintus. The initial plan involved launching a surprise infiltration of Caius' mansion, where Quintus was believed to be hiding, based on information acquired from his network of spies. The alternative plan entailed luring Quintus directly to Michael's presence. After careful consideration, Michael opted for the latter, recognizing that this course of action would not only ensure Quintus' presence but also provide further validation of his existing suspicions regarding an elusive entity operating against him from the shadows. In essence, by implementing the second plan, Michael aimed to accomplish multiple objectives simultaneously, strategically positioning himself to confront Quintus and strengthen his certainty regarding the covert opposition he faced. Moreover, Michael desired Quintus' fate to serve as a stark warning and unmistakable message to all those who dared to align themselves with his adversaries. With a deliberate descent through the darkened skies, Michael could perceive the growing commotion emanating from Caius' opulent mansion. "Dark Lord!" Suddenly, a thunderous roar pierced through the night, carried by Quintus' commanding voice, echoing throughout the city and commanding attention from all who heard it. Under Quintus' tyrannical rule, a haunting darkness engulfed the once vibrant realm. The horror stories whispered among the townsfolk paled in comparison to the gruesome reality they faced. Quintus, a vampire of insatiable hunger, reveled in his sadistic reign, leaving a trail of shattered lives and broken spirits in his wake. Night after night, young souls, lured by false promises or seized under cover of darkness, vanished without a trace. Their cries for help echoed in the shadows, unheard and unanswered. Quintus, a predator hiding under Caius' manor, found pleasure in feasting upon the life essence of his victims. Their blood, once warm and pulsating with vitality, became his unholy elixir, prolonging his cursed existence. The people, trapped in a web of fear, lived in constant terror. Each passing day brought fresh nightmares as their loved ones disappeared one by one, leaving behind a void of anguish and unanswered questions. The once bustling streets now lay deserted and haunted, the atmosphere thick with an eerie silence. Hope flickered like a dying flame as the people yearned for a savior to vanquish this monstrous fiend. Whispers of resistance circulated in hushed tones, desperate pleas for someone, anyone, to rise against the nightmarish rule of Quintus. They longed for the light of justice to pierce through the suffocating darkness that had enveloped their lives. As the commotion echoed through the streets, a wave of fearful faces emerged from the safety of their homes. Yet, as Quintus' roar filled the night, a subtle sense of relief washed over them. Despite the world branding Michael as the malevolent Dark Lord, the reign of his loyal servant, Caius, had brought prosperity and happiness to Giselle. Under their joint leadership, the kingdom thrived, heading toward a golden era of prosperity. Even amid rumors of Caius' hidden allegiance to the Dark Lord, the people remained unconcerned, for their lives were filled with abundance and contentment. During Michael's absence in the depths of hell, a treacherous turn of events unfolded within the Sky Hall. The execution team, manipulated by sinister forces, falsely accused Caius of serving the evil Dark Lord and swiftly ended his life. In a chilling twist, Quintus, a far greater malevolence, seized control of Caius' manor, unleashing a reign of terror upon the land. The dark shadow of Quintus cast a sinister pall over the kingdom, as numerous young souls mysteriously vanished without a trace. Their lives were cruelly sacrificed, becoming nothing more than vessels of sustenance for Quintus' insatiable thirst for blood. The people, gripped by fear and living in perpetual dread, found themselves caught between the horrors of Quintus and the tales of the feared Dark Lord. So when Quintus roared the name Dark Lord, an ironic sense of relief washed over them. Finally, Michael came face to face with the notorious Quintus, and the sight that met his eyes filled him with a seething rage. Quintus, in his audacity, had not only taken the life of Heinberg, one of Michael's trusted subordinates, but had also played a pivotal role in aiding the Skyhall execution team's invasion of Giselle. The consequences of his actions were grim, leading to the execution and hanging of Caius, another loyal subordinate. However, it was Quintus' insolence that truly ignited Michael's fury. The vampire had brazenly donned the 2 remaining armor pieces, sacred relics left by the previous Dark Lord, meant to be wielded by Michael alone. This act of defiance struck at the very core of Michael's authority and challenged his rightful claim to power. It was an affront that would not go unanswered. As Michael examined Quintus more closely, a mix of surprise and curiosity overtook his initial anger. The transformation that Quintus had undergone was far more extreme than Michael had anticipated. Knowing that Quintus had been turned into a vampire by Fabia Viridius under the orders of Saber, Michael couldn't help but question the extent of the experiments conducted on him. The abomination standing before him, with twisted features and a monstrous aura, bore little resemblance to the man Quintus once was. The grotesque appearance, marked by elongated fangs, pale and gaunt features, and an unsettling aura of darkness, hinted at the depths of depravity that Quintus had descended into. Michael's astonishment mingled with a sense of apprehension as he realized that Fabia's experiments alone could not account for the monstrous being that Quintus had become. Due to the manipulation of the Skyhall execution team, even the loyal soldiers of Caius were compelled to follow the orders of the newly appointed senators. When the team, in collusion with the Senate, declared Quintus as the Senator of Defense, the soldiers had no choice but to obey. However, the soldiers and the general populace had only known Quintus before his transformation into a vampire. In their eyes, he was a ruthless Spartan general driven by a lust for conquest and the expansion of Kingdom Morel. None of them could fathom that Quintus had long forsaken his humanity in exchange for dark powers as a vampire. Furthermore, by donning the armor pieces left by the previous Dark Lord, his soul and physical form had been irreversibly corrupted, turning him into a horrifying abomination. Thus, when Quintus made his first public appearance, emerging from Caius Manor, the soldiers guarding the premises were left utterly shocked and horrified by the grotesque sight before them. The sight of Quintus left the soldiers frozen in shock and disbelief, rendering them unable to move or react. None of them could recognize the once respected Spartan general in the abomination before them. However, the training and discipline ingrained within them allowed some soldiers to shake off their initial fear and attempt to confront this monstrous creature. Yet, Quintus swiftly launched himself at the soldiers, his long tongue coiling around their necks like a deadly serpent, and mercilessly sank his fangs deep into their vulnerable flesh. Blood was swiftly drained from the soldiers' bodies as Quintus moved from one victim to another, his insatiable thirst fueling his growing power. Michael calmly observed the scene, his keen eyes capturing every chilling detail, noting the evident enhancement of Quintus' strength with each life he consumed. "My lord, permit me to vanquish that abomination," Azazel requested, his eyes filled with determination. However, Michael gently declined, shaking his head in response. "I have another individual who is eager for this confrontation," Michael calmly stated, gesturing towards the ground below them as Azazel followed his gaze. To their surprise, Saber emerged, walking with an air of tranquility towards the bridge that connected the city to Caius Manor. This abomination was created within one of Saber's laboratories, and it is his responsibility to eradicate it, Michael declared as he descended gracefully to the ground, landing with poise. With a mere flick of his wrist, his magnificent throne materialized beneath him, and he settled into it, ready to observe the impending battle between Saber and Quintus. Despite Quintus having donned the coveted armor pieces that Michael had tirelessly sought, he resisted the urge to dispatch Quintus himself swiftly. This presented an unparalleled opportunity to witness Saber's combat prowess firsthand. It was a crucial test for Saber, and if he proved his mettle, Michael would bestow upon him the esteemed title of the King of Nightwalkers. Quintus, moving with unnatural agility on all fours, approached the imposing iron gates that stood as the last barrier between him and the Dark Lord. His elongated tongue writhed ominously, revealing its grotesque split end. As Quintus drew nearer, a putrid stench of decay and sulfur permeated the air, assaulting the senses of those unfortunate enough to be in close proximity. Blood oozed from his mutilated body, dripping onto the ground with a sickening rhythm. The sight was truly macabre as Quintus' skin peeled away, revealing raw flesh underneath. His face, once distinguished, now bore the marks of his transformation, with chunks of flesh hanging loosely from his skeletal features. The blood that seeped from his wounds mixed with the dirt on the ground, creating a vile concoction of gore and filth. With a ferocious burst of strength, Quintus lunged at the iron gates, his clawed hands tearing into the metal with a screeching cacophony. The gates groaned under the onslaught, straining against the force exerted by this unholy abomination. In an instant, the gates crumbled, reduced to twisted remnants of their former glory. Quintus' gaze locked onto Saber, who stood resolute between him and the Dark Lord. Their eyes met, an intense confrontation of wills, as the air crackled with anticipation. The scene was a grisly tableau, with Quintus' disfigured form and Saber's unwavering determination creating a stark contrast against the backdrop of chaos and destruction. Chapter 966. Getting the last 2 armor pieces. Saber, despite his youthful appearance, exuded an air of authority and power that belied his age. His jet-black hair, styled in a loosely messy manner, framed his piercing blue eyes, which glinted with a hint of otherworldly wisdom. A hat adorned his head, adding a touch of mystery to his overall ensemble. Clad in black trousers and a matching coat that billowed slightly in the wind, he presented a striking figure against the backdrop of chaos and darkness. White gloves adorned his hands, contrasting sharply with the darkness of his attire. His handsome features bore a hint of disgust, a resolute expression that reflected his unwavering resolve to stand against the abomination before him. Despite his youthful appearance, Saber was no ordinary teenager. As an elder vampire, he had reached the pinnacle of his kind, attaining the revered level 10 fusion stage. Combined with the potent elixirs provided by Michael and his innate elder vampire traits, Saber had become a formidable force to be reckoned with, capable of challenging even a half-immortal. In his eyes, there was no trace of fear, only a deep-seated repulsion for the monstrosity that stood before him. With every fiber of his being, Saber was prepared to unleash his full power to impress the Dark Lord and vanquish the foul creature that dared to threaten their dominion. Dark Lord, Quintus' piercing gaze shifted past Saber and locked onto Michael, the Dark Lord himself, who reclined on his throne with an air of nonchalant indifference. Resting one leg on top of the other, his head cradled by his fist, Michael exuded an aura of supreme confidence. Standing beside the throne, Azazel stood tall, a loyal sentinel ready to defend his lord at any cost. Quintus' eyes, burning with a malevolent mix of rage and bloodlust, bore into Michael with an intensity that could ignite the heavens. The Dark Lord's actions had brought about the annihilation of Quintus' beloved family, and now, the vampire thirsted for nothing less than tearing Michael apart limb from limb. With every fiber of his being consumed by vengeance, Quintus' crimson eyes flickered with a fiery determination, fueled by a primal urge to exact his revenge upon the Dark Lord who had shattered his world. The moment of reckoning had arrived, and Quintus could scarcely contain his anticipation, yearning for the opportunity to render Michael's very existence into oblivion. "Get the fuck out of my way, Saber!" Quintus' thunderous roar reverberated through the air, catching Saber off guard as his own name echoed in Quintus' furious proclamation. A flicker of surprise crossed Saber's face, but he quickly recalled the Dark Lord's briefing, where he had disclosed the infiltration of the Guardian's spies within the Dark Army. It dawned on Saber that his name might have been leaked, but he remained composed, knowing that the Dark Lord had a strategic plan in place to turn the tables on the Guardians themselves. Quintus, consumed by an inferno of rage and vampiric bloodlust, unleashed his wrathful tirade, describing in vivid detail how he would annihilate the Dark Lord and everyone he held dear. His words, laced with venomous anger, painted a gruesome picture of the torment and destruction he envisioned. "I'll rip that fucking Dark Lord apart limb by limb. He shouldn't have dared to lay a goddamn finger on my family. I'll make sure he suffers 1,000-fold for what he's done." Quintus' voice crackled with raw fury as he continued to unleash his vengeful threats. His fangs glistened with anticipation, eager to taste the Dark Lord's blood and relish in the macabre pleasure of tearing apart his adversaries. The vampire's eyes burned with an unholy fire, their crimson depths radiating a chilling intensity that would freeze the blood of any who dared to stand in his way. Saber's lip curled in a disdainful sneer. "What a pathetic disgrace," he scoffed, his voice dripping with disgust. His fingers tightened around the brim of his hat. Frustration was evident in his piercing blue eyes. Slowly and deliberately, he removed the hat from his head, revealing his combed but loosely messy black hair. The disdain in Saber's voice deepened as he spoke, his words carrying a cold certainty. "I should have personally ended Fabia's miserable existence for daring to create such an abomination using my own blood." The air around him crackled with quiet intensity as he tossed the hat aside, his focus solely fixed on Quintus. With a measured calmness, Saber locked eyes with Quintus, his gaze unyielding. His tone remained steady and composed, though an underlying threat resonated in his words. "Hand over the 2 armor pieces that rightfully belong to the Dark Lord, and I may consider sparing you the agony of being torn apart into countless pieces." The weight of Saber's presence was undeniable, his power and confidence radiating like an aura around him. His gloved hands remained at his sides, ready to unleash the full extent of his formidable abilities should Quintus dare to resist. A twisted grin spread across Quintus' face as he spoke, his voice laced with sadistic anticipation. "I've never had the pleasure of tasting the blood of an elder vampire. I wonder how exquisite the flavor would be," he taunted, prowling back and forth on all fours. In a disturbing display, Quintus rose to his full height, his hands dropping to his sides, revealing nails elongated into deadly claws. Saber's expression remained stoic, his eyes narrowing slightly as he adjusted his coat with a nonchalant gesture. His voice carried a cool confidence, cutting through the tension in the air. "So you've chosen to embrace a painful demise. How utterly predictable," he remarked calmly, his words underscoring his unshaken resolve. Quintus launched himself at Saber with incredible speed, his claws slashing through the air. Saber swiftly evaded the attack, his movements fluid and precise. He retaliated with a series of calculated strikes, landing blows that seemed to weaken Quintus with every hit. Unleashing his mastery over spells, Saber tapped into his vampiric powers. He channeled his energy into a spell known as Crimson Chains, summoning ethereal tendrils of blood that snaked through the air toward Quintus. The chains coiled around Quintus' limbs, restricting his movements and draining his strength. Not content with just restraining his opponent, Saber followed up with another spell called Hemorrhage. He directed his focus toward Quintus' body, causing his blood vessels to rupture and bleed profusely. Quintus howled in pain as crimson streams flowed from his wounds, weakening him further. With each passing moment, Saber maintained his composure, exploiting Quintus' vulnerabilities. He weaved intricate patterns in the air, conjuring a spell known as Bloodbound Shield. The shield formed a barrier of pulsating blood, deflecting Quintus' frenzied attacks and protecting Saber from harm. The battle raged on as Saber's strategic maneuvers and precise spellcasting gave him the upper hand. His control over blood manipulation proved to be a formidable advantage as he continued to outmaneuver and weaken Quintus at every turn. The outcome of the battle was far from certain, but Saber's calm demeanor and calculated tactics hinted at his eventual victory. As Quintus faced Saber's relentless assault, he unleashed his own feral and savage fighting style. His claws sliced through the air with deadly precision, aiming for Saber's vulnerable spots. With each strike, Quintus displayed his raw power and ferocity, fueled by his vampiric bloodlust. The armor pieces attached to Quintus' chest radiated an eerie crimson glow, surrounded by crackling red lightning that danced around him. The armor, adorned with the skull symbol of the Dark Lord, acted as a shield, repelling Saber's spells and mitigating their impact. The lightning-infused protection granted Quintus a brief respite from Saber's onslaught, bolstering his defense and enabling him to retaliate. Seizing the opportunity, Quintus lunged forward, his elongated tongue whipping through the air like a deadly whip. He aimed to ensnare Saber and draw him closer for a devastating strike. His supernatural strength and agility, coupled with the protection of the Dark Lord's armor, made Quintus a formidable adversary. With a primal roar, Quintus unleashed a flurry of rapid strikes, his claws tearing through the air with blinding speed. The armor pieces emitted bursts of crimson lightning, empowering his attacks and infusing them with additional destructive force. Each blow landed with bone-crushing impact, aimed at overwhelming Saber's defenses and wearing him down. As Quintus unleashed his vicious onslaught, Saber maintained a calm and composed demeanor, evading and parrying his attacks with calculated precision. While Quintus fought with wild ferocity, it became evident that Saber was intentionally restraining his full power, as if toying with his opponent. Despite the intensity of the battle, Saber's movements were graceful and calculated, his actions guided by strategic prowess and supernatural agility. He weaved effortlessly through Quintus' strikes, countering with fluid and well-timed maneuvers. It seemed as though Saber was testing Quintus, probing his weaknesses and exploiting them with measured precision. The clash continued as Quintus' power waned, gradually diminishing from his supposed half-immortal level 1 to the lower fusion stage. It became apparent that Quintus' previous display of half-immortal cultivation was merely a facade fueled by the blood essence he had absorbed from the soldiers he had slain. This illusory power was a far cry from the genuine strength of a true half-immortal. While Quintus relied on the temporary surge of borrowed power, Saber's true strength emanated from his innate abilities as an elder vampire, further enhanced by Michael's potent potions. With each passing moment, Saber's superiority over Quintus became more apparent, his movements calculated and efficient, never wasting unnecessary energy. Saber's measured approach conveyed a sense of confidence and assuredness. He knew that, despite Quintus' menacing presence and the crimson lightning-infused armor, the true extent of his adversary's power fell short. Saber was biding his time, waiting for the opportune moment to unleash his full strength and bring an end to the battle on his terms. With a swift agility, Saber gracefully evaded Quintus' frenzied attack, sidestepping his slashing claws and darting past his menacing tongue. In a display of sheer strength, Saber seized Quintus' elongated tongue in a firm grip, yanking him closer with a forceful pull. With a concentrated focus, Saber channeled his power into a single devastating punch that sent Quintus hurtling through the air, crashing into a nearby structure with a resounding impact. As the dust settled, Saber slowly removed his gloves, revealing his pale, flawless hands. His once calm and composed expression transformed into a resolute determination, and his piercing blue eyes underwent a gradual metamorphosis, the tranquil hue shifting to a vibrant crimson red, reflecting the intensity of his unleashed power. Drawing upon his mastery of blood-related spells, Saber tapped into the primal forces that flowed within his veins. In a seamless motion, he began weaving an intricate pattern with his outstretched hands, conjuring the essence of blood itself. Scarlet tendrils of energy swirled around his fingertips, pulsating with a sinister vitality. With a sudden surge of power, Saber launched his first spell, aptly named Crimson Vortex. As his hands whirled through the air, the swirling vortex of blood-red energy materialized before him. It expanded rapidly, engulfing the surrounding area with a hypnotic crimson glow. The sheer force of the vortex created a vacuum, drawing Quintus toward its center. Saber's second spell, Veins of Nightfall, complemented the crimson vortex, adding an ethereal touch to his onslaught. From his fingertips, wisps of dark shadows materialized, intertwining with the crimson energy. These shadowy tendrils extended toward Quintus, wrapping around him like serpents, constricting his movements and sapping away his strength. Within the combined grasp of the crimson vortex and the veins of nightfall, Quintus found himself ensnared in a maelstrom of blood and shadows. The pulsating crimson energy gnawed at his flesh, penetrating his defenses, while the inky darkness drained his vitality with every passing moment. Quintus thrashed and writhed, his movements becoming feeble and his monstrous form gradually succumbing to the overwhelming onslaught. As Saber maintained his unwavering focus, his eyes ablaze with crimson intensity. He unleashed the full might of his blood-infused spells. The scene unfolded with vivid imagery, the convergence of blood and shadows creating an otherworldly spectacle. The air crackled with raw power as the combined assault ravaged Quintus, tearing through his defenses and eroding his vampiric resilience. In this climactic confrontation, Saber's mastery over blood magic and his intrinsic elder vampire prowess fused seamlessly, forming an unstoppable force against his adversary. The onslaught of blood and shadows enveloped Quintus, marking the beginning of his inevitable downfall at the hands of Saber's relentless onslaught. As Saber pressed his advantage, his crimson-infused onslaught continued unabated. Each strike landed with surgical precision, targeting vulnerable points on Quintus' body. With each bone-crushing blow, a sickening crack echoed through the air, signifying the shattering of Quintus' defenses. Blood erupted from Quintus' mouth, spurting in crimson arcs with each impact. The once formidable vampire writhed in agony, his monstrous form now reduced to a battered and broken shell. As Saber's assault intensified, Quintus' body became a canvas of pain and brutality. In a merciless display of dominance, Saber seized Quintus' outstretched arm, twisting it with an unholy strength that surpassed the limits of mortal capabilities. Bones snapped and splintered, punctuating the air with a symphony of torment. Quintus' agonized screams echoed through the desolate surroundings, blending with the chaotic clash of battle. With a primal fury burning in his crimson eyes, Saber relentlessly pursued his onslaught. He moved with a ruthless grace, evading Quintus' feeble attempts at defense while delivering devastating strikes that further shattered the vampire's deteriorating form. Each blow sent shockwaves of pain rippling through Quintus' body, reducing him to a pitiful, broken creature. As the battle neared its climax, Saber seized hold of Quintus' elongated tongue, the very instrument that had caused so much suffering. With a surge of strength, he yanked it free from Quintus' twisted maw, eliciting a gory fountain of blood. The severed appendage dangled from Saber's grip, a macabre testament to his triumph over his vampiric foe. Bloodied and broken, Quintus gasped for air, his body racked with convulsions. His once formidable presence was reduced to a pitiful heap, limbs twisted and mangled. Every inch of his being bore the marks of Saber's merciless assault, a testament to the unleashed fury of a determined elder vampire. The battlefield was drenched in a ghastly tableau of crimson, the very life essence of Quintus spilling out in torrents. The air hung heavy with the metallic scent of blood, mingling with the acrid tang of decay. The scene bore witness to the raw brutality of the encounter, a visceral display of the consequences faced by those who dared to challenge Saber's unyielding resolve. The once formidable Quintus lay broken and defeated, his monstrous visage reduced to a shattered husk. The battle had reached its horrific conclusion, leaving a trail of devastation in its wake. With Quintus lying broken and defeated, Saber approached the fallen vampire, his gaze filled with disdain. He reached down, his gloved hand closing around the two armor pieces that adorned Quintus' chest. With a powerful yank, he tore them from their resting place, causing Quintus to roar in a mixture of pain and fury. At that moment, Saber's voice cut through the air like a blade, his tone laced with a cold superiority that pierced Quintus' wounded pride. "You are nothing more than a pitiful byproduct of twisted experiments," he hissed, his words dripping with contempt. A mockery of what it means to be a vampire, born from the meddling of inferior beings. As Quintus writhed in agony, his monstrous form battered and broken, Saber towered over him, radiating an aura of dominance. Without a hint of mercy, Saber raised his boot high above Quintus' head, the final blow poised to descend. The weight of his conviction fueled the force behind his strike, amplified by his unyielding determination to rid the world of this abomination. In a resounding act of retribution, he brought his foot crashing down, meeting Quintus' skull with devastating force. A sickening crunch reverberated through the air as bone shattered and flesh gave way beneath Saber's merciless assault. Quintus' head crumpled beneath the impact, reducing it to a gruesome, unrecognizable pulp of blood and shattered fragments. Saber's boot remained firmly planted on the remains, a symbol of his triumph and a testament to the unyielding power he possessed. The battlefield was silenced, save for the faint echoes of Saber's victorious blow. The lifeless body of Quintus lay motionless, a grim reminder of the consequences that befell those who dared to cross the Dark Lord. After dealing the final blow to Quintus, Saber turned his gaze towards Michael, who sat regally upon his throne, observing the aftermath. As he reached Michael's side, he gracefully dropped to one knee, a sign of reverence and submission. With a solemn gesture, he extended his hand, presenting the 2 armor pieces he had ripped from Quintus' chest. Michael, his eyes gleaming with satisfaction, rose from his throne, accepting the offered artifacts. As his fingertips made contact with the ancient armor, a surge of power coursed through the pieces, causing the crimson-red lightning that once encircled them to dissipate. It was as if they had found their rightful place in the presence of their true creator. Carefully, Michael placed the armor pieces into his system storage, a secure sanctuary for precious relics. Michael unsheathed his dark swords as the blades hummed with a dark energy that resonated with the very essence of their master. Drawing closer to Saber, Michael touched the tip of his sword against the vampire's shoulder, the cold metal making contact with his flesh. The weight of the moment hung in the air, anticipation and significance intermingling. This was the final test I had prepared for you, and you have exceeded my expectations, as I always knew you would. Michael spoke with a voice that carried both authority and admiration. His words held the weight of a solemn declaration. From this day forward, you shall bear the title of the King of Nightwalkers. I bestow upon you this honor, recognizing your unwavering loyalty and unwavering strength. Chapter 967. Evil armor pieces. As soon as Saber dealt the final blow to Quintus, chaos erupted in the aftermath. The Spartan soldiers of Giselle, driven by their duty to capture anyone associated with the Dark Lord, found themselves facing the very embodiment of their mission. Their spears were raised, forming a defensive barrier around Michael and Saber, unsure of how to confront the Dark Lord himself. In that critical moment, Michael's actions surprised them all. Instead of unleashing his wrath upon the soldiers, he defied their expectations and ascended gracefully into the sky. The soldiers watched in awe as the Dark Lord vanished from their sight, leaving behind a lingering sense of both relief and bewilderment. The encounter challenged their preconceived notions and left them questioning the nature of their mission. Upon arriving at the Dark Castle, Michael wasted no time. He swiftly made his way to the portal room, its eerie aura beckoning him toward the unknown. With Eladir by his side, they stepped through the swirling vortex, entering the realm of their secretive forge. In the dimly lit chamber, Michael carefully arranged the 5 armor pieces upon a sturdy table. He scrutinized each fragment, his eyes tracing the intricate details alongside Eladir. Together, they embarked on a meticulous examination, seeking to unravel the secrets embedded within the ancient relics. Eladir's voice echoed through the forge, tinged with uncertainty. There must be additional armor pieces. These 5 alone won't suffice to forge a complete armor. Michael had always sensed a lingering incompleteness about the collection of armor pieces. Even at best, assembling them would only result in a partial chestplate. Silently, he picked up the 5 fragments, carefully aligning them together like an intricate puzzle. As the pieces interlocked, a subtle transformation occurred. The armor emanated a dim, crimson glow. A slender tendril of ominous dark smoke escaped from the assembled armor pieces, swirling and coalescing into a tangible sentence. The words materialized before Michael and Eladir, their meaning etched into the air. Do not rely on me for everything. Forge your own path and armor. These 5 fragments are merely a small part of a greater puzzle. Complete your armor according to your own life and future. The message hung in the forge, its weight sinking into Michael's consciousness. He felt a mixture of intrigue and determination, realizing that he had to embark on his own journey to shape his destiny and create a formidable armor that aligned with his individual path. The challenge was clear: to find the missing pieces and forge a unique armor that reflected his own life's journey. Damn. Sometimes I can be a real asshole, huh? Michael let out a frustrated sigh, feeling a mix of irritation and self-reflection. It dawned on him that the previous Dark Lord had deliberately left him with incomplete armor, placing the burden of completing it squarely on his own shoulders. The realization gave him a glimpse into the complex and sometimes manipulative nature of his predecessor. Meanwhile, Eladir seemed unperturbed by the previous Dark Lord's intentions as he focused his attention on the armor pieces. His fingers delicately traced the surface, exploring every crevice and contour. With a sense of excitement, he beckoned Michael to take a closer look. "Look here, my lord." Eladir pointed to the seemingly plain black surface of the armor pieces. At first glance, Michael saw nothing remarkable, but as he peered closer, his eyes discerned the presence of minuscule, intricate runes. These markings, invisible to the naked eye, adorned the surface of the armor pieces, their purpose and meaning concealed within their cryptic forms. Curiosity piqued. Michael turned to Eladir, his eyes filled with anticipation. He sought the runemaster's expertise, hoping for insights into the enigmatic runes etched upon the armor pieces. However, to his astonishment, he noticed a flicker of fear in Eladir's expression, an unease that sent a ripple of concern through Michael's mind. "What do these runes signify?" Michael inquired, his voice laced with both intrigue and a tinge of apprehension. He expected Eladir, as the sole runemaster in the service of the previous Dark Lord, to possess knowledge beyond his own. Eladir hesitated for a moment before responding, his voice tinged with a mix of caution and genuine surprise. "These runes. They surpass any complexity and power I have encountered in my years of study. I can't claim them as my own. They bear an uncanny resemblance to the runes you once entrusted me to engrave in the mortar. It's highly likely that these runes are the handiwork of the previous Dark Lord." Michael's mind spun with possibilities as he considered the implications. His previous self, having delved into the realm of rune mastery, had left a mark on the very armor he now held. Yet, the intensity of fear reflected in Eladir's eyes puzzled him. "Are you suggesting that my previous self became a master of runes?" Michael mused aloud, his voice laced with intrigue. As he mulled over the notion, he couldn't shake the disquieting realization that there was more to these runes than met the eye. The aura of fear surrounding Eladir only deepened the mystery, prompting Michael to probe further. Eager for clarity, Michael pressed on, his tone laced with a mix of curiosity and concern. "But why do you appear apprehensive, Eladir? Surely, my previous self's proficiency with runes should be a cause for celebration." Sensing Eladir's underlying unease, he sought to understand the source of his runemaster's flustered demeanor. "Let's assume that my previous self inscribed these runes upon the armor. But I can't help but notice your unease," Michael probed, his voice filled with a mix of intrigue and a desire for clarity. Eladir, his eyes fixed upon the intricate runes, took a deep breath to steady himself. He carefully weighed his words, fully aware of the gravity of the situation. "If my understanding of these runes is accurate," Eladir began cautiously, "they serve a purpose beyond their mere existence. They seem to possess the power to subdue a malevolent, dark energy emanating from these very armor pieces." A chill crept down Michael's spine as he contemplated the implications of Eladir's revelation. The notion of dark energy intertwined with his previous self's creation sent ripples of both apprehension and intrigue through his mind. However, to Michael's surprise, his own calm demeanor seemed to irk Eladir, who displayed a hint of irritation. Dark energy, intertwined with the legacy of the Dark Lord. "It does seem fitting," Michael mused, shrugging off the implications with a nonchalant gesture. Yet, Eladir's response and lingering unease prompted him to delve deeper into the matter, seeking a more thorough understanding. However, Eladir's exasperation could not be contained as he shook his head, a subtle flicker of irritation coloring his expression. It was evident that Michael's composed facade in the face of potential danger was testing the runemaster's patience. "Please, my lord, this is no time for indifference," Eladir implored, his voice tinged with a mix of urgency and concern. "We must not underestimate the gravity of this dark energy. It possesses a potency that can lead to unforeseen consequences. As Eladir voiced his concerns about the dark energy, an eerie aura permeated the forge, causing the space around Michael to distort. Sensing a presence, he turned his gaze over his shoulder, only to find Eve entering the forge with a sense of urgency. "I need something," Eve began, her words abruptly halting as her eyes fell upon the foreboding sight of the armor pieces. A pallor washed over her face, her body trembling involuntarily. In her alarmed state, she rushed towards Michael, nearly toppling several tools from the table in her haste. Panic filled Eve's voice as she pressed her trembling hand against Michael's shoulder. "Where did you obtain these? They must be discarded immediately." Michael, puzzled by Eve's vehement reaction, attempted to assuage her fears, his voice laced with a mix of confusion and reassurance. "Calm yourself, Eve. These are the very armor pieces I spoke of, left to me by my previous self 5,000 years ago. Why does their presence terrify you as well?" Eve's wide-eyed expression reflected her genuine terror as she desperately conveyed her first-hand experiences. "These armor pieces exude the same corruptive energy I witnessed within the dark crystal from the dwarves. It possesses an insidious force that twists and corrupts, transforming even the noblest of beings into mindless fiends consumed by an insatiable thirst for power. We cannot allow this darkness to take hold. We must rid ourselves of these accursed pieces before they taint our very souls." Eladir nodded in agreement with Eve, understanding her concerns. He turned to Michael with a serious expression, his voice filled with caution. "I see the wisdom in Eve's words, my lord. These runes indeed hold the power to subdue the malevolent energy emanating from the armor pieces. However, I fear that wearing armor infused with these 5 pieces may pose a great risk. It would be wise to dispose of them and seek alternative means to forge a new armor for your protection," Eladir implored, his eyes reflecting his earnest desire for Michael's safety. He hoped Michael would heed their advice and prioritize his well-being over the allure of the powerful but potentially dangerous armor. However, Michael couldn't help but let out a confident chuckle, his eyes glinting with determination. He lifted one of the armor pieces adorned with a skull engraving, his emblem, which shimmered brilliantly in the warm glow of the furnace's golden light. People have a habit of branding the unfamiliar as evil, but am no ordinary dwarf to succumb to this energy's corruption. "I am the god of darkness," Michael declared with unwavering self-assurance. He embraced his identity as the god of darkness, fully aware of the immense power he possessed, his words dripping with confidence and power. With Eve and Eladir gone, the forge was now empty, leaving Michael to immerse himself in the task of forging his armor. He cleared his mind, focusing solely on the creation before him. Taking a piece of paper, he began sketching the design of his envisioned armor. The chest plate took shape, adorned with a fearsome skull, its crimson eyes staring out with an aura of menacing power. No longer needing to conceal his face, Michael omitted a mask, allowing the armor to cover his entire body from neck to toe. His imagination soared as he drafted metal wings that would be seamlessly integrated into the armor's structure. These wings would grant him the ability to defy gravity and traverse environments that hindered his arch energy, such as the treacherous demon's grave. Alongside the wings, he incorporated the APD, Mark III grappling hook, and the Olympus, a versatile tool of immense power. A clever addition was the spraying mechanism on his palm, enabling him to release potent toxins and poisons when needed. But what truly delighted him was the face cloak system he devised. This ingenious feature would conceal his face with a menacing skull mask, providing protection when submerged underwater or in need of shielding his head. Not forgetting practicality, the armor boasted a majestic cape that materialized when the metal wings were closed, billowing regally. And to ensure readiness for battle, sword sheaths adorned his back, providing easy access to his trusted blades. Additionally, slots were strategically placed around his waist, ready to house an array of gadgets and tools. As Michael completed the sketch, a sense of anticipation and satisfaction washed over him. The envisioned armor seemed to come alive on paper, embodying his dark essence and immense power. With the system offline, Michael knew he would have to rely on the metals available in the world to forge his armor. Luckily, his expertise as a blacksmith granted him the ability to work with the raw materials found in his surroundings. He planned to craft the initial version of his armor using these worldly metals while reserving the option to upgrade it later with the metal ores that could be obtained from the system. Assigning the task of locating the finest metals to his trusted subordinates, Michael set them on the mission to gather the necessary materials. Meanwhile, he took another sheet of paper and began sketching an armor design for Gaia, his soon-to-be wife. Chapter 968. Final battle against the Guardian Guild begins while Michael was engrossed in sketching his Dark Lord armor. Alara Valrin, the leader of the Guardian Guild, called for a meeting of all the guild members. They were summoned to the grand hall of their headquarters. Alara instructed the Guardians who hadn't resigned after Azazel's ultimatum to evacuate their current headquarters in the Ar continent. Instead, she urged them to regroup at their headquarters in the Azer continent. Ideally, Alara would have preferred to confront the Dark Lord from their Ar continent stronghold, as it provided better defensive advantages. However, the Empress of Ar had issued a mandate for them to vacate the continent entirely. The Empress was concerned about Ar becoming a target for the Dark Lord's forces. As a result, Alara and the Guardian Guild found themselves forced to make their final stand against the Dark Lord in the Azer continent. Their headquarters, a formidable structure, stood proudly on Hulwick Isle, a solitary island named in honor of the second supreme guardian of the guild. In this critical moment, numerous warships diligently patrolled the tranquil sea surrounding the island while airships vigilantly kept watch over the skies above. Inside the majestic grand hall, Alara commanded attention as she stood upon a raised stage, gazing out at the assembled guardians before her. This unwavering group of 600 loyal guild members, united by their unwavering dedication, had refused to heed the Dark Lord's ominous ultimatum and resign from their posts. They stood resolute, prepared to face the Dark Lord head-on, even if it meant sacrificing their very lives for the guild they held dear. In a remarkable display of unity and discipline, the Guardians arranged themselves in a precise formation within the hall. With military precision, they stood shoulder to shoulder, their unwavering resolve mirrored in their steadfast alignment. Standing tall behind Alara Valrin, the esteemed Alpha Guardian of Hunter Guardians, were Roshan, the Alpha Guardian of the Beast Guardians, donning his formidable armor. Beside him stood Vivian, the Alpha Guardian of Sorcerer Guardians, her enchanting presence accentuated by her intricately adorned attire. Completing the trio was Garrick, the Alpha Guardian of Warrior Guardians, emanating strength and valor through his resplendent armor. Despite their unwavering strength and readiness to make the ultimate sacrifice for their guild, a faint trace of fear lingered in the eyes of the remaining Guardians. And rightly so, for their formidable adversary was none other than the Dark Lord himself. It seemed like just yesterday when they had extended an offer to Ghost, considering him as a potential trainee Guardian. However, he had rejected their offer and embarked on a path that led him to become the Dark Lord. In a mere span of 2 years, Ghost had amassed such overwhelming power that he posed a grave threat not only to the guild but to its very existence, which had spanned thousands of years. Alara Valrin, standing tall on the elevated stage, gazed upon the gathered Guardians with a mix of determination and compassion in her eyes. She understood the weight of the impending battle and the fear that gripped their hearts. Taking a deep breath, she began her speech. "My fellow Guardians," Alara's voice rang out with strength, commanding the attention of everyone in the grand hall. "Today, we stand on the precipice of a battle that will test our very souls. The Dark Lord has unleashed a reign of terror upon our lands, leaving destruction in his wake." A murmur of agreement and unease rippled through the Guardians as Alara's words resonated with their own experiences. They remembered the day when the Ithalan Island, a once flourishing realm, had been shattered into pieces, disappearing beneath the unforgiving waves. The loss of an entire island and its inhabitants had shaken them to their core. Alara continued, her voice unwavering. "The Dark Lord's heinous acts extend beyond mere destruction. He has ruthlessly wiped out the noble royal family of Thusia, eradicating their legacy and bringing pain to our realm. His power knows no bounds, and his thirst for dominance threatens everything we hold dear. The guardians listened intently, their expressions a mix of sorrow, anger, and determination. Each one had felt the sting of the Dark Lord's actions, the personal losses they had suffered at his hands. But Alara's words kindled a fire within them, reminding them of their duty as protectors. But we, my dear guardians, we are the light in the face of this darkness, Alara proclaimed, her voice filled with conviction. We have trained for this moment, honing our skills and cultivating our indomitable spirit. We have pledged our lives to defend the innocent, to safeguard our realms from the forces of evil. A renewed sense of purpose filled the hall as Alara's words resonated with the guardians. They straightened their postures, their eyes shining with a flicker of hope amidst the impending storm. Our unity is our greatest strength, Alara continued, her voice rising with fervor. Together, we shall stand against the Dark Lord, united by our unwavering loyalty to the Guild and our unwavering belief in the power of good. We will not falter, nor will we yield, for we are the protectors of light and guardians of justice. A surge of determination coursed through the hearts of the guardians, their spirits lifting as they absorbed Alara's words. They knew the road ahead would be perilous, but they were resolute in their mission to confront the Dark Lord. As Alara concluded her speech, the grand hall resounded with thunderous applause and fervent cheers. The guardians, their fears momentarily set aside, embraced the strength that came from their unity. Emboldened by the guardians' response, Alara Valrin raised her hand, gesturing for silence. The hall fell into hushed anticipation as all eyes remained fixed on her. But let us not forget, Alara's voice carried a note of solemnity, that this battle will demand everything from us. It will test our resolve, our courage, and our faith. We must be prepared to face our darkest fears, to confront the very embodiment of evil that stands before us. A somber silence settled over the room, the weight of Alara's words sinking in. The guardians exchanged glances, a mixture of determination and trepidation mirrored in their eyes. They knew the path ahead was fraught with danger, but they were not alone. They had each other, bound by a shared purpose that would see them through even the darkest of times. Our fallen comrades, those who have bravely fought and sacrificed their lives, their spirits live on within us. Alara's voice carried a touch of reverence. They have bestowed upon us a legacy that we must honor with unwavering dedication. Their sacrifices will not be forgotten as long as we draw breath. The guardians nodded in silent agreement, their thoughts turning to those who had fallen, the memories of their fallen brethren fueling their resolve. They were a testament to the indomitable spirit that resided within them, a legacy that compelled them to rise above their own fears. And remember, my fellow guardians, we fight not only for ourselves but for the countless lives that depend on us. Alara's voice grew fierce, her gaze sweeping across the hall. We fight for the innocent, the vulnerable, and the future that hangs in the balance. We fight for the hope that lies within every beating heart. A renewed determination ignited within the guardians, an unyielding resolve that banished their lingering fears. They understood the weight of their duty, the responsibility that had been entrusted to them. They would not allow the darkness to snuff out the flame of hope. So, my brave guardians, let us stand together shoulder to shoulder as we march into battle. Alara's voice rang with unwavering conviction. Let our unity be an impenetrable shield against the forces of darkness. Let our courage be a beacon of light amidst the encroaching shadows. And let our unwavering resolve be the weapon that shatters the tyranny of the Dark Lord. A thunderous roar erupted from the guardians, their spirits soaring with newfound determination. The grand hall vibrated with their resounding cheers, echoing throughout the headquarters, a testament to their unbreakable spirit. When the echoes faded, Alara Valrin stepped down from the stage, her heart filled with pride and gratitude. She knew that this battle would be their greatest challenge yet, but she had faith in the Guardians' unwavering spirit and their unyielding dedication to the cause. As Alara delivered her impassioned speech, Salisi, accompanied by Evan, made their way into the underground treasury beneath Hulwick Isle. This secret vault housed a vast collection of treasures, gold coins, and artifacts belonging to the Guardian Guild. While the majority of their valuable possessions were securely stored in the Grandspire Bank, the wealth amassed over thousands of years still overflowed within the treasury beneath the island. It was a testament to the Guild's long and prosperous history, a repository of immeasurable value awaiting its guardian's safekeeping. In the midst of the tranquil blue underwater surroundings, Celice found herself floating, knowing well that it was merely an illusion. She held a golden cube in her hand, recognizing its true purpose. With a simple flick of her wrist, Celice activated the cube, deftly maneuvering it in intricate patterns. As the cube responded to her touch, a brilliant beam of light burst forth, shattering the illusion that had concealed the treasury before her. And as the radiant light expanded, it unraveled the hidden defenses, dispelling the protective arrays and ancient runes that guarded the treasury. A magnificent marble edifice safeguarding the Guild's amassed wealth from potential intruders. With a graceful drift, Celice and Evan floated into the treasury, their movements unhurried and deliberate. The golden cube they possessed held immense value for the Guardian Guild, as it contained precious drops of blood from all the Supreme Guardians, including Noah. This extraordinary artifact granted unparalleled access to the Guild's vast array of buildings, safe houses, and countless hidden treasures. Guided by the cube entrusted to her by Alara, who assumed leadership in the absence of a Supreme Guardian, Celice ventured boldly into the treasury, scarcely concerned about the intricate security mechanisms in place. As Celice and Evan stepped into the treasury, an imposing sight awaited them. A towering golden door flanked by two colossal metal soldiers, each standing 15 feet tall. These formidable guardians formed the final barrier before accessing the vault, wielding enchanted weapons capable of vanquishing even immortals. In the face of this awe-inspiring defense, Evan couldn't help but express his fear, his eyes betraying his apprehension. He turned to Celice, seeking reassurance. "Are we really going through with this?" he asked, his voice tinged with uncertainty, his gaze fixed on the towering metal sentinels. Celice remained composed, exuding a calm confidence that belied the danger that lay before them. "Don't worry," she replied, her voice steady. "As long as we possess this." Celice raised the cube high, causing rays of light to emit from the metal guardian's eyes. The beams of light scanned the cube, as well as Celice and Evan themselves. In response, the metal guardians raised their swords, clutching them against their chests, before forcefully plunging them into the ground. With a resounding impact, the runes adorning the golden door ignited, casting an ethereal glow. Slowly, the massive door began to creak open, unveiling the boundless wealth that lay within the vault. When the vault door swung open, a breathtaking sight unfolded before Celice and Evan. The chamber was bathed in a mesmerizing glow emanating from the vast array of treasures within. It was a treasure trove beyond imagination, a cornucopia of wealth that seemed to stretch to infinity. A sea of golden coins, glinting with a mesmerizing brilliance, cascaded like waves upon the chamber's floor. Gems of all colors and sizes adorned ornate pedestals, casting dancing prisms of light that painted the walls with a kaleidoscope of hues. Ancient artifacts, intricately carved and pulsating with hidden power, stood proudly on display, their mystical energies palpable. Spell scrolls, their delicate parchment inscribed with arcane incantations, lined shelves alongside enigmatic books filled with forgotten knowledge. Weapons of legendary craftsmanship, their blades glimmering with an otherworldly sheen, exuded an aura of invincibility. Evan's eyes widened in disbelief, his jaw dropping at the sheer opulence that surrounded them. He stood frozen, awestruck by the wealth and power contained within the vault. The sight overwhelmed him, leaving him momentarily speechless. Meanwhile, Celice remained composed, her gaze sweeping across the treasures with a sense of familiarity. A sly smile graced her lips, hinting at secrets known only to her. She basked in the splendor, unaffected by the overwhelming magnitude of the wealth before her. The glimmering light cast enchanting reflections on her face, accentuating her confidence and a touch of mischief in her eyes. She possessed an understanding of the vault's secrets, a knowledge that imbued her with a calm assurance even amidst the staggering riches that surrounded them. "We can't simply allow the Dark Lord to claim all of this for himself," Khaleesi declared firmly, her eyes focused on the vast wealth before them. "Though the Guardian Guild may face its demise, we mustn't let these treasures slip through our fingers. They can become the means for the Shadow Clan to grow stronger and eventually confront the Dark Lord." Evan hesitated, his inner conflict apparent in his voice. "It doesn't sit right with me, my lady," he confessed, his heart and mind wrestling with the notion of looting the Guardian Guild's treasury instead of standing united with the other Guardians against the Dark Lord. Deep down, he knew Sales's words held truth. Allowing the Dark Lord to seize these riches would only serve to bolster his power. Sales's expression softened, understanding Evan's moral dilemma. "Evan, strive to be good, but remember, sometimes the path to victory requires making difficult choices," she advised, her tone gentle yet resolute. She picked up a golden coin from the floor, the weight of her decision evident. "We can't be too idealistic in these dark times. We must adapt to the circumstances and use what resources we have wisely. It's for the greater cause." Evan nodded, his features reflecting a mix of uncertainty and resignation. He realized that in the face of impending destruction, preserving these treasures for a future battle against the Dark Lord was a pragmatic and necessary step. It was a bitter pill to swallow, but he understood the necessity of their actions. Together, Khaleesi and Evan would secure the Guild's wealth, transforming it into a beacon of hope for a brighter future, even as the shadow of the Dark Lord loomed over them all. Chapter 969. The day before the final battle in the armory of the Guardian Guild, Alicia stood surrounded by an array of gleaming armors. Her fingers caressed the smooth surface of the silver armor bestowed upon her by Noah as a wedding gift. The armor exuded an ethereal aura, adorned with intricate runes that glowed softly, as if alive with ancient magic. A chilling mist swirled around the armor, enveloping Alicia in an icy embrace. With every piece she donned, Alicia felt a surge of power and purpose. The armor covered her from head to toe, its design both elegant and formidable. The helmet was crafted with precision, revealing only her face while concealing the sides, adding an air of mystery to her presence. The silver hue of the armor shimmered in the light, reflecting her determination and unwavering commitment to the Guardian Guild's cause. With Noah's absence and the imminent confrontation with the Dark Lord looming, Alicia embraced her role as the leader of the Guardian Guild. As Noah's wife, she felt compelled to step forward and guide the Guardians in the face of this dire threat. Donning her armor, Alicia carried the weight of responsibility on her shoulders, determined to honor her connection to Noah and protect the Guild. As the elite team of Guardians, handpicked by Noah himself, witnessed Alicia preparing for battle, a surge of pride and courage coursed through their veins. They knew that Alicia's presence at the forefront would inspire them to fight with unwavering resolve. Each Guardian, with their own unique skills and unwavering loyalty, looked to Alicia as their beacon of hope and strength. Among them, Neela stepped forward, her gaze filled with concern. Recognizing the immense danger they faced, she approached Alicia and assisted in securing the armor, her hands deftly fastening the straps. "My lady, I beg you to consider what I've asked of you. Please, for the sake of your safety, leave this place," Neela pleaded, her voice filled with genuine concern. She couldn't bear the thought of losing Alicia, and the weight of disappointment they would carry in the eyes of Supreme Guardian Noah if something were to happen to her. Alicia looked at Neela. Her expression was resolute yet understanding. She gently shook her head, her determination unwavering. "Neela, I am not facing the Dark Lord merely as a Guardian captain. I am facing him as a Winston, as Noah's wife," Alicia explained firmly. The stripping of Noah's title as the Supreme Guardian held no weight in her heart. To her, Noah would always be the embodiment of that role. It was her duty as his wife to confront any threat that endangered the guild they both held dear. Neela, aware of Alicia's history with the Dark Lord, continued her plea, hoping to break through Alicia's resolve. "My lady, I understand the pain and anger that resides within you, but we cannot allow those emotions to cloud our judgment. None of us can single-handedly stop the Dark Lord from destroying our guild. We all know the uphill battle we face. However, if you survive this, we will eventually prevail in this war against the Dark Lord. The Supreme Guardians need you more than us, my lady." Neela's words were heartfelt, carrying the weight of the guild's concerns. She reminded Alicia of the Dark Lord's despicable actions, recounting how he had humiliated her brother, Peter, during the battle tournament of Elon, reducing him to a mere mop for the floor. The Dark Lord had then exposed Peter as the vigilante, resulting in his house arrest by the Guardians. And finally, in a heart-wrenching moment, Alicia had witnessed the Dark Lord teleport Peter into the very cage where she had captured him, leading to Peter's tragic demise before her eyes. To add to the pain, Alicia's own family blamed her, believing that if she had let go of her hatred towards the Dark Lord, Peter might have been spared. The consequence was her family exiling her. As Neela spoke, Alicia listened intently, her emotions stirred. Memories of the pain and loss resurfaced, but Alicia's resolve remained unshaken. She knew the risk, the uncertainty that lay ahead. Yet, the fire within her burned brighter than ever, fueled by her determination to avenge her brother's tragic fate and protect her guild. With a calm but unwavering voice, Alicia responded to Neela's heartfelt plea. "Neela, I understand your concerns, and I am grateful for your words, but my decision stands firm. I cannot let go of my duty to the guild and to my family, no matter the risks involved. The Dark Lord has taken enough from us, and it is time we stand up against his tyranny. If there's even a chance to bring justice and protect those we love, then I will face this battle head-on." Neela, feeling a sense of urgency, made one final attempt to convince Alicia to reconsider. "Alicia, I implore you to think about what I'm saying. The Dark Lord is Noah's brother, which makes him your brother-in-law. We can't fight against our own family. Let us face the Dark Lord and his army while you find safety elsewhere." Alicia paused, her gaze meeting Neela's, her expression filled with determination. "Neela, I understand the connection between the Dark Lord and my husband, but I refuse to let that sway my decision. The Dark Lord may share blood ties, but his actions have severed any bond of kinship. He is not anyone's family, not to me, not to Noah. He has chosen a path of darkness, and it is our duty to stand against him." Neela's shoulders slumped in resignation, realizing that Alicia's resolve was unyielding. "I understand, Alicia. I see the strength and conviction in your eyes. Just promise me you'll stay safe and return to us." Alicia reached out and placed a reassuring hand on Neela's shoulder. "I promise, Neela. I will do everything in my power to protect myself and return to you all. We are guardians, bound by our loyalty and our shared purpose. I will not bring shame to my husband or the guild by running away when the Dark Lord threatens us." Neela nodded, her eyes reflecting a mix of worry and admiration. "May the gods be with you, Alicia. May your courage inspire us all." With a final embrace, Alicia and Neela parted ways, each filled with their own emotions. Alicia, now fully clad in her armor, made her way toward the gathering guardians. Her heart was heavy with the weight of responsibility, but her determination burned bright. As the sun began to set, casting a golden hue upon the horizon, Alicia stood before her fellow guardians, ready to lead them into the approaching battle against the Dark Lord and his menacing army. The night grew darker, but Alicia's resolve remained unwavering. She would face the Dark Lord head-on, for her fallen brother, for her husband, and for the future of the Guardian Guild. The stage was set, the battle awaited, and Alicia, the symbol of unwavering strength, was prepared to write in their saga of light against darkness. As Alicia prepared to face the Dark Lord, Alara returned to Salesys' hidden pocket dimension, where they gathered to plan their next moves. Alara took her seat at the round table, while Salisi and Evan greeted Neela with a nod. Evan couldn't hide his concern for the upcoming battle against the Dark Lord. What troubled him even more was Salesys' strict order for him to stay away from the Guardian Guild tomorrow. Salisi knew that if Evan confronted the Dark Lord, he would be extinguished in an instant. She valued Evan as a member of her shadow clan and wanted to protect him from such a fate. Curiosity sparked in Sales's eyes as she turned her attention to Alara. "So, Alara, how did your meeting with the Council of Immortals and the leaders of the great clans go?" Sales's smile revealed her amusement, as she already anticipated the outcome. Alara let out a frustrated sigh, her expression filled with a mix of annoyance and anger. It was a complete waste of time. Those imbeciles believe that the Dark Lord's only target is the Guardian Guild. They refuse to acknowledge that once the Dark Lord decimates the guild, the other 7 great clans will be next on his list for annihilation. It's infuriating to witness their sheer ignorance and lack of foresight. Alara's frustration reached a boiling point, and she couldn't help but vent her anger. If those clan leaders had an ounce of intelligence, they would realize the imminent threat and unite against the Dark Lord. Instead, their foolishness and stubbornness blind them to the danger at hand. I had to restrain myself from leaping out of my chair during the meeting and giving them a piece of my mind. The room fell silent, the weight of the impending battle hanging heavy in the air. Alara's frustration was shared by those gathered, each aware of the gravity of the situation. Evan's question hung heavy in the air, filled with a mix of frustration and desperation. What about the Council of Immortals? Will they simply stand by and allow the Dark Lord to wipe out the Guardian Guild? He implored. Alara's voice dripped with exasperation as she replied, her frustration barely contained. Those spineless cowards are no better than the clan leaders. At least they had the audacity to admit their inability to challenge the Dark Lord, rather than spewing feeble excuses, she exclaimed, her emotions raw and unfiltered. Deep down, however, Alara knew that the Council of Immortals had made a grim but realistic assessment. Salisi interjected with a knowing tone, her words laced with a hint of satisfaction. "They are not entirely mistaken, my dear," she remarked. "The Dark Lord has ascended to the half-celestial stage. Even if every immortal within the Council united in confronting him, victory would be an elusive dream." Salisi stated, her voice betraying a mix of admiration for the Dark Lord's power and a hidden agenda. While she relished the thought of the immortals foolishly throwing themselves at the Dark Lord, becoming fodder for her own sinister plans, she understood their reluctance. The immortals were not as gullible as she wished. Alara nodded in reluctant agreement, her sigh a testament to the heaviness in her heart. Though she desperately clung to a glimmer of hope, the truth weighed heavily upon her. The impending doom of the Guardian Guild, once her beloved sanctuary, now loomed inescapably. Noah's absence had left them vulnerable, their resilience tested to the core. Salisi inquired, though she already knew the futility of attempting to dissuade Alicia from her decision. "Have you made any effort to dissuade Alicia from her perilous plan to face the Dark Lord?" she asked, feigning concern while secretly delighting in the unfolding of her grand plan. Alara let out a heavy sigh, her voice tinged with resignation. "We both know better than to try and reason with Alicia," she replied, the weight of their shared understanding palpable. "Indeed, it is a pity," Salisi responded, her words laced with false sympathy. However, her true feelings betrayed a twisted delight at the pieces of her grand design falling perfectly into place. But can we truly blame Alicia for her unwavering determination to confront the Dark Lord? After all, he has ruthlessly shattered everything that held meaning for that poor girl, Salisi added, recalling the atrocities the Dark Lord had committed against Alicia. Deep within the recesses of Sales's dark heart, a twisted delight simmered as she heard the news of Alicia's impending battle against her own brother-in-law, the Dark Lord. Salisi understood the deep-seated animosity between them, fueled by the unspeakable pain the Dark Lord had inflicted upon Alicia and her loved ones. She relished the anticipation, for she knew the Dark Lord's merciless nature all too well. Sales's cunning mind envisioned the aftermath of Alicia's tragic demise at the hands of the Dark Lord. She foresaw the inevitable wrath that would consume Noah, Alicia's husband and the former Supreme Guardian. Despite their shared blood, Salisi knew that Noah's love for Alicia ran deeper than any familial bond. The news of her death would be a catalyst, shattering the tenuous connection he had once held with his treacherous brother. With calculated ruthlessness, Selisi saw the path she had laid before her, like a macabre chessboard. Alicia's demise would serve as the catalyst, igniting the flames of a long-awaited war between the two brothers. It was a malevolent plan, meticulously crafted to exploit their familial ties, manipulating their emotions to orchestrate a battle that would rend the heavens asunder. As Selisi reveled in the darkness of her scheme, her eyes gleamed with a sinister satisfaction. She knew that Alicia's sacrifice would be the catalyst for the grand confrontation she had longed for, a clash of titanic forces that would shake the very foundations of their world. The anticipation coursed through her veins, fueling her wicked ambitions, as she eagerly awaited the tragic chain of events that would set brother against brother in a battle of unfathomable proportions. In the twisted tapestry of fate, the threads wove a cruel and heartbreaking tale for the two brothers, Michael and Noah, bound by blood yet torn asunder by destiny. Their paths diverged, leading them down contrasting roads that would inevitably intersect in a tragic collision. Michael, consumed by an all-consuming love for his wife Gaia, stood as a formidable guardian, willing to commit unspeakable acts to alter her fateful demise. He would willingly unleash devastation upon any who dared threaten her, forsaking the bonds of morality in a desperate attempt to rewrite her destiny. The depths of his devotion knew no bounds, his actions fueled by an insatiable desire to protect his beloved. Meanwhile, Noah, the other brother, faced the harrowing possibility of losing his own wife, Alicia, in the clutches of his own brother. The intricate web of fate had entangled their lives in a macabre dance, where the relentless whims of destiny eclipsed familial ties and blood connections. The cruelty of their intertwined destinies was a bitter reminder that even the strongest bonds could be severed by the relentless hands of fate. The path laid before them was one of anguish and despair, where the choices they made and the actions they took would inevitably lead to a tragic confrontation. The very fabric of their existence seemed woven with an inherent cruelty, as the brothers found themselves caught in a web of love, loyalty, and the ultimate betrayal. Chapter 970. On the day of the final battle, new DBS chapter will be out tomorrow and the schedule will also be resumed. The long-awaited day of the battle against the formidable Guardian Guild had finally arrived. Despite the immense power and history held by this ancient guild, Michael remained surprisingly calm and even found amusement in the situation. A carefree whistle escaped his lips as he strolled out of the portal room, his confidence unshaken. Due to the tradition that prohibited him from seeing his bride, Gaia, until their wedding day, Michael couldn't help but sigh as he imagined the sheer beauty that would radiate from her when she adorned her wedding dress. With a sense of anticipation, he made his way to his temporary room, where his garments awaited him. As Michael made his way through the corridor, his robes were tarnished with dust and dirt from the ongoing process of forging his armor. He understood the importance of looking his best when facing the Guardian Guild, a moment he had been eagerly awaiting. It was during this walk that Azazel, his loyal demon butler, approached him from one of the rooms and respectfully greeted him. "My lord, Lord Saber is en route to the Lord Information. We can expect to receive information about rare metals within a day," Azazel informed, his voice filled with unwavering loyalty. "Excellent," Michael replied calmly, his focus unwavering. "I shall delve deeper into the properties of these metals and convey to Lord Saber the exact specifications required to complete my armor." While Michael could have easily completed his armor using ordinary metals, he held an unwavering desire for both his own and Gaia's armor to be extraordinary. To achieve this, he sought the finest metals available, ones that remained concealed from his knowledge until now. Deep down, he knew that the Lord Information possessed secret insights into the unique metals that existed within this world, knowledge that he yearned to acquire. As Michael proceeded, he inquired about the progress of the wedding preparations. "Brother Ghost." Suddenly, a playful and excited voice reverberated through the corridor, catching Michael's attention. A smile crept across his face as he recognized the voice. Turning around, he was met with the sight of Cindy emerging from seemingly nowhere. With uncontainable joy, she dashed towards Michael, enveloping him in a tight embrace. Jumping up, she clung to his waist, showering him with wet kisses on his cheek. Cindy had grown considerably since they last saw each other. No longer the little 7-year-old who could barely reach Michael's knee, she had blossomed into a charming young girl. Her height now reached his waist, and her growth in power was evident as she had achieved the core formation stage. Yet, despite these transformations, Cindy still retained her childlike demeanor in Michael's presence. Playfully, she clung to him like a peppering him with affectionate kisses and rubbing her cheek against his. "Oh, how much I've missed you," Cindy exclaimed, elongating her words while maintaining her tight embrace. "I missed you too. I'm glad you've emerged from your seclusion," Michael replied warmly. Continuing their walk together, Cindy remained perched on his waist, a symbol of their unbreakable bond. "You know, Missy, you shouldn't act like it in front of everyone anymore. You're all grown up now," Michael gently chided, playfully pinching her nose. "Yes, my little lady. Our Lord has a reputation to uphold as the Dark Lord," Azazel chimed in, but Cindy simply responded by sticking her tongue out and making a funny face at him. Azazel, the lone and fearsome demon in the world, couldn't help but chuckle and sigh in amusement. To Cindy, no one could strike fear into her heart, not even the vampires. She had long become like Michael's adorable little sister, even before he ascended to the position of the Dark Lord. Even in the face of a world that trembled before the might of the Dark Lord and the Dark Queen, Cindy felt no fear. She continued to play and interact with them as she always had. Cindy's innocent, playful, and adorable nature endeared her to everyone in the Dark Army. However, her sweetness didn't define her entirely. Under the tutelage of Gaia, the Dark Queen herself, and Eve Voldegard, Cindy received rigorous training in combat arts. Saber and Trista took charge of teaching her blood spells, while Eladir instructed her in the mystical arts of runes. Despite her tender age, Cindy understood the harsh realities of the world, and she dedicated herself wholeheartedly to her training. Michael, as much as he adored Cindy, didn't want to shield her from the brutalities of the outside world. Instead, he was determined to prepare her to face it head-on and stand beside him as a ruler. Even though Cindy wasn't a prodigy when she was born, Michael spared no expense or effort in cultivating her potential and transforming her into a formidable force. "He may be the Dark Lord to others, but not to me, Uncle Azazel," Cindy replied, her tone filled with playful defiance. "Oh, so you think him not a bad person, huh?" Michael teased, a mischievous glint in his eyes. Cindy, in response, playfully rolled her eyes, emphasizing her disbelief. "Well, brother, if any butthole dares to call you evil in front of me, they can come eat my knuckle sandwich." Cindy clenched her small fist and demonstrated a mock punch in the air, evoking laughter from both Michael and Azazel. "I feel so protected," Michael chuckled, reaching out to ruffle Cindy's hair, much to her protest. Lost in their light-hearted banter, Michael momentarily forgot about the impending war with the Guardian Guild and stepped outside the castle. As they walked, Cindy excitedly shared a funny story with Michael, recounting how she had defeated a group of vampires. Cindy's eyes sparkled with enthusiasm as she began her tale. "Oh, brother, you won't believe what happened. So, I was training against a group of vampires. At first, I was a bit scared, because they're all fast and strong and have those sharp fangs. But then, I thought, hey, I'm Cindy, the Dark Lord's cute little sister." Michael chuckled, encouraging her to continue. Cindy grinned and continued, "So, I stood there, facing those vampires with all my might. I shouted, 'Prepare to be defeated, you blood-sucking creatures.' And guess what? They actually listened to me. I mean, who knew vampires had a sense of humor?" Michael couldn't help but laugh at Cindy's adventurous spirit. "And then," Cindy continued, her eyes gleaming with excitement, "I unleashed my secret weapon, the tickle attack. I tickled them with all my might, and those vampires started squirming and giggling like crazy. They couldn't even fight back because they were too busy trying to catch their breath." Michael burst into laughter, imagining the comical sight. "And that's how I defeated the vampires, brother," Cindy concluded proudly, striking a triumphant pose. Michael clapped his hands, thoroughly entertained. "Bravo, my little warrior. You always find a way to surprise me." Michael stood at the edge of the floating mountain, his gaze fixed on the dark ocean swirling with multiple tornadoes. After bidding farewell to Azazel, Cindy approached him and handed him a mysterious letter. "What's this?" Michael asked, curiosity piqued. "I'm not sure. Aunt Adelia asked me to give it to you once I emerged from seclusion," Cindy replied, her eyes brimming with curiosity. As Michael opened the envelope, he discovered a small, palm-sized black scale nestled within, accompanied by a letter. Unfolding the letter, he read Adelia's words carefully. "My lord, if you're reading this, it means I haven't returned to the castle, and you're likely searching for me. I can't disclose everything in this letter, but I have provided a secret ritual on the back that can help trace my location using this scale. Please send Azazel and only Azazel to me. I will explain everything upon my return." "I wonder where she vanished to?" Cindy inquired, her eyes filled with curiosity, as Michael carefully folded the letter and returned it to her. "Cindy, I want you to take this letter to Uncle Eladir. He will know what to do. And once you've given him the letter, go and inform Gaia that her mother is safe and will be returning soon," Michael instructed, gently lowering Cindy back to the ground. "Alrighty then," Cindy responded, placing a hand over her heart and assuming a playful, loyal soldier stance. Michael chuckled and planted a tender kiss on her back before she set off on her mission to deliver the letter to Eladir. As Cindy disappeared from Michael's sight, his enchanting smile dissolved, replaced by a cold and ruthless expression. With a swift motion, he vanished from the edge of the mountain, leaving behind a trail of lightning in his wake. In an instant, he materialized in his temporary room, where all his belongings had been relocated in preparation for his impending wedding. Before him stood a meticulously arranged wardrobe filled with an array of dark attire. Without hesitation, Michael reached for a long coat, a sleek black turtleneck, and a pair of matching trousers. With a swift flick of his wrist, he discarded his previous garments, cleansing himself with arcane energy before adorning his new attire. The transformation was complete. Next, Michael donned his fingerless gloves, the symbols of his power and prowess. He secured his formidable dark swords upon his back, their menacing presence a clear warning to any who dared to cross his path. Slipping into the long coat, he fastened it with purpose, each button a reminder of his indomitable will. Finally, he laced up his shoes, ensuring every detail of his formidable ensemble was in place. In this attire, Michael exuded an aura of sheer strength and determination, ready to confront the formidable challenge that awaited him, the Guardian Guild. In the tranquil Hulwick Isle, a sense of anticipation hung in the air as the Guardians prepared for the imminent arrival of the Dark Lord and his formidable army. The vast expanse of the sea surrounding the island was meticulously patrolled by vigilant guardians, their watchful presence ensuring the safety of their home. Above, the skies were adorned with the majestic airships of the Guardian Guild, standing as a testament to their strength and unity. Yet, despite the Guardians' stern instructions to the contrary, a multitude of onlookers had gathered in the skies, hovering at a safe distance from the isle. These curious spectators, numbering in the thousands, yearned for a glimpse of the impending clash between the Dark Lord and the Guardian Guild, ignoring the Guild's firm reminder that this was not a mere spectacle but a harrowing war. Yet, their fascination with the unfolding events outweighed their concern for their own safety. Undeterred by the Guild's warnings, the onlookers remained steadfast in their desire to witness the clash of these colossal forces. However, they were not foolhardy, recognizing the inherent danger. Each individual maintained a safe distance, equipped with an array of gadgets and protective spells to shield themselves from the catastrophic shockwaves that would undoubtedly be unleashed. Among the spectators, even the esteemed Empress of Ar graced the scene, accompanied by a gathering of kings and queens. The magnitude of this momentous event was not lost on them, for it was a rare occurrence to witness such a formidable war between the Dark Lord and his imposing army pitted against the Guardian Guild. Hearts raced with anticipation as the stage was set for a monumental clash that would leave an indelible mark on history. The group of rogue cultivators and news reporters floated in the sky, a safe distance from the Hulwick Island, their faces etched with fear and anticipation. The air was tense, heavy with the weight of an imminent war between the Dark Lord and the Guardian Guild. Their voices carried a sense of urgency and concern as they engaged in a somber discussion. One of the older cultivators, his eyes filled with worry, broke the silence. "Do you think there's any chance for peace talks between the Dark Lord and the Guardian Guild? Is it possible to avoid this destructive war?" A younger cultivator, his brow furrowed, replied, "I'm not sure. The Dark Lord has shown little inclination towards diplomacy in the past. He has always relied on his formidable power and relentless pursuit of his goals." A news reporter chimed in, his voice filled with apprehension. "But what if the Dark Lord emerges victorious? Will he show any mercy to the Guardian Guild, especially considering his brother was the previous Supreme Guardian?" The group fell into a contemplative silence, their gazes fixed on the distant Hulwick Island. It was a moment of reflection, where the weight of family ties and the potential consequences of the war were considered. Another cultivator, his voice tinged with uncertainty, spoke up. "We can't predict the Dark Lord's actions. His true nature is shrouded in darkness, and he has always been an enigma. But knowing their shared bloodline, perhaps there is a glimmer of hope for a resolution." The news reporters quickly jotted down the conversation, capturing the conflicting emotions and the fragile thread of hope that lingered in the air. A seasoned cultivator, his voice steady yet filled with doubt, added, "Even if the Dark Lord is victorious, will he spare the Guardian Guild out of familial bond? Or will he use this as an opportunity to consolidate his power and eliminate any potential threats?" The discussions continued, the cultivators and reporters wrestling with their fears and grappling with the unknown. The sky above the Hulwick Island remained ominous, mirroring the uncertainty that permeated the conversation. As the dialogue progressed, hope and despair intertwined, their voices echoing through the air. The rogue cultivators and news reporters floated in the sky, their shared trepidation binding them together, united in their quest for understanding amidst the impending storm. Unbeknownst to them, the Guardians stood resolute, fully aware of the gravity of the situation. Their steadfast determination mirrored the unwavering waves beneath them, ready to face the imminent threat with unwavering resolve. The stage was set, the world poised to witness a battle that would shape the destiny of both the Guardians and the Dark Lord. Chapter 971. Michael versus Alicia. As the minutes ticked away, the sun embarked on its journey toward the horizon, casting a golden glow over the land. The Hulwick Island, shrouded in darkness, exuded an air of foreboding that sent shivers down the spines of the onlookers. Fear clung to them like a heavy cloak, their hearts pounding with trepidation. Amidst the onlookers, the Guardians stood tall and resolute, their unwavering loyalty to the Guardian Guild eclipsing their own fears. Those who had harbored doubts about facing the Dark Lord had fled, leaving behind a steadfast core of Guardians ready to defend their cause. As twilight descended upon the Azer continent, the Guardians on the airships sprang into action. They brought forth massive crystals infused with potent magic and activated the ancient runes etched upon them. Like radiant beacons, these crystals emitted a brilliant light that pierced through the encroaching darkness, illuminating the entire island. The atmosphere crackled with anticipation, drawing thousands of cultivators to gather at a safe distance, both in the skies and on the ground. Their eyes were fixed on the Hulwick Island, hearts pounding with a mixture of fear, curiosity, and a thirst for witnessing history unfold. The scene was a tapestry of contrasting emotions. The onlookers, caught in a web of anxiety, and the Guardians, standing as beacons of courage and dedication. The crystal's enchanting glow painted the island in a surreal brilliance, creating an ethereal spectacle that intensified the weight of the impending clash. On the vast expanse of the Hulwick Island, the Guardians stood in solemn formations, their silver armor gleaming under the radiant crystal light. 700 brave souls, resolute and prepared for the impending battle that would soon unfold. Led by Alicia, with unwavering determination etched upon her face, they stood united as a formidable force. At the forefront of the Guardians, Alicia stood tall, her gaze fixed upon the distant horizon. The weight of responsibility rested upon her shoulders, and she felt the collective anticipation emanating from her comrades behind her. With each passing moment, the air grew heavy with a sense of impending doom, the tension palpable. Alicia's eyes, sharp and focused, scanned the horizon. She knew that at any second, the Dark Lord and his army could descend upon them. Her heart pounded in her chest, a rhythmic reminder of the adrenaline coursing through her veins. The wind whispered through her silver armor, as if echoing the restless murmurs of the Guardians around her. Her grip tightened around the hilt of her sword, a symbol of her unwavering resolve. Alicia was determined to defend the Guardian Guild, protect her comrades, and uphold the honor entrusted to her. She had trained relentlessly, honing her skills and harnessing her inner strength for this very moment. As the sun bid its final farewell, the once serene sky transformed into a canvas of foreboding storm clouds on the distant horizon, a sight that sent a shiver down the spines of the onlookers, as whispers of fear escaped their lips. The clouds crackled with flashes of crimson lightning, casting an eerie glow that danced across the darkened heavens. With an alarming speed, the tempestuous clouds surged towards the Hulwick Isle, causing the very sea above to tremble in response. Powerful waves rose and crashed against the shoreline, their tumultuous roars echoing through the air. The atmosphere grew heavy with a sense of impending doom, as if nature itself recognized the arrival of a formidable force. The onlookers, their gazes fixated upon the encroaching storm, felt a chill creep down their spines. Unspoken words carried on the wind, and the name the Dark Lord reverberated in hushed tones. A name that struck fear into the hearts of those who had heard tales of his power and ruthlessness. In the face of this ominous spectacle, uncertainty and trepidation permeated the air. The storm clouds, a harbinger of the Dark Lord's imminent arrival, served as a stark reminder of the impending clash between the forces of light and darkness. The time for talk and speculation had passed. It was now a moment to brace themselves for the storm that was about to descend upon the Hulwick Isle. As the storm clouds drew closer, the atmosphere thickened with anxiety and fear. The onlookers huddled together, their voices trembling with uncertainty and anticipation. "I can't believe it's really happening," whispered one rogue cultivator, his eyes wide with dread. "The Dark Lord is coming. We're about to witness a war like no other. Do you think there's any hope for the Guardian Guild?" A news reporter asked, her voice laced with concern. "Can they withstand the might of the Dark Lord and his forces?" A cultivator, his face etched with worry, shook his head. "I'm not sure. The Dark Lord has conquered every obstacle in his path. Feels like nothing can stop him. But what about the previous Supreme Guardian? They were siblings, right?" A young cultivator inquired, his voice quivering. "Wouldn't the Dark Lord show mercy to his own flesh and blood?" "It's hard to say," replied an elder cultivator, his voice filled with a mix of resignation and determination. "All we can do is pray for the strength and resilience of the Guardian Guild. They have trained for this moment, and they will fight with everything they have." The Guardians swiftly formed their defensive positions, organizing themselves with precision and discipline. Warships on the sea and airships in the sky adjusted their formations, ready to protect the island. Meanwhile, Alicia gracefully soared into the air, her departure leaving a powerful shockwave resonating through the ground. She positioned herself in the sky, ready to face the Dark Lord directly. As the storm clouds dispersed, a hushed silence fell upon the scene. To the astonishment of everyone present, there stood Michael, alone and composed, suspended in the sky. Contrary to their expectations, there was no army accompanying him. He exuded an air of confidence, a calm smile playing upon his lips. His long black coat billowed in the wind, and his black sunglass concealed his true emotions, leaving onlookers guessing. The Guardian Guild's army watched in disbelief, their gazes locked on the enigmatic figure before them. They had braced themselves for a full-scale war, expecting a vast army to oppose them. Yet, there stood the Dark Lord, seemingly unperturbed by the lack of reinforcements. It was a perplexing sight that sent a ripple of uncertainty through their ranks. Whispers of confusion and disbelief spread among the guardians and the onlookers. They questioned the reason behind the Dark Lord's solitary appearance. Was this a calculated move, or had something unexpected occurred? As they sought answers, tension hung heavy in the air, a palpable energy that heightened their anticipation. Michael, unfazed by the gazes fixed upon him, continued to wear his enigmatic smile. His presence alone held a powerful aura, casting a shadow of uncertainty over the Guardian Guild. Michael's gaze locked with Elysius, their eyes meeting amidst the tense atmosphere. With a casual gesture, he cracked his neck and flexed his knuckles, projecting an air of nonchalance. Alicia, her voice amplified by the prevailing silence, accused him with contempt. "What do you intend, you murderer? Where is your army?" Her words reverberated across the field, capturing the attention of all present. Yet, Michael's response was a mere chuckle, unfazed by her accusations. "An army is unnecessary to deal with your puny guild. I have a personal debt to settle with your organization, and I intend to do so with my own hands," he retorted, casting a fleeting glance at the amassed Guardian Guild forces. In the face of 700 guardians, numerous warships dotting the sea, and a myriad of airships in the sky, accompanied by formidable cultivators and weapons, Michael exhibited no signs of trepidation. Instead, it was the guardians themselves who began to quiver at the sight of his half-celestial stage cultivation. Their loyalty and bravery wavered as they came face to face with the notorious Dark Lord. "What did you do with Noah? Where is he?" Elysius' unexpected question caught Michael off guard. It was evident that she believed he held some responsibility for Noah's disappearance following the Nagaland War. Yet, as always, Elysius' assumptions were misguided. While it was true that Michael had dispatched his minions to search for Noah, he had no involvement in the Guardian Guild leader's vanishing act. In truth, Michael himself wondered about Noah's whereabouts. However, now was not the time for discussions about Noah. His purpose here was to eradicate the Guardian Guild from existence, to leave no trace of their presence in this world. "I couldn't care less about your husband," Michael scoffed, his voice laced with disdain. He took pleasure in taunting Alicia, knowing it would provoke a reaction. "But perhaps you should feel grateful. If he's still alive, he might attempt to rescue his beloved guild." Michael sneered, a wicked smirk playing on his lips. The mention of Elysius' husband struck a nerve, causing her to clench her fists tightly. "And if your husband didn't hold such an unwavering devotion to his guild, I have no doubt he would come running to protect you, his cherished wife," Michael added, his words dripping with sarcasm. "Normally, I wouldn't even consider this, but since you appear so weak and feeble, he'll offer you a chance to flee," Michael taunted, gesturing for Alicia to escape. He knew deep down that she would never take him up on his offer. Alicia let out a mocking snicker in response to Michael's offer. "I am Alicia Winston, and Winstons don't run," she retorted, her voice filled with determination. Michael couldn't help but chuckle at her response. "Yes, Winstons are stupid," Michael laughed, his amusement evident. However, Alicia quickly found a retort that struck a nerve. "And you, by birth, are also a Winston," Alicia snickered, her words laced with a hint of satisfaction. A momentary flicker of anger flashed in Michael's eyes, hidden behind his dark sunglasses. Yet he swiftly regained his composure. He was the master of control, never allowing his emotions to get the best of him. "Fortunately for me, I was abandoned," Michael calmly replied. "Otherwise, I might have become a mindless puppet under the control of Skyhall and the Guardian Guild." He spoke with a touch of bitterness, revealing a glimpse into his past and the complex dynamics that shaped his journey. Elysia's voice trembled with anger as she retorted, "At least we didn't become deranged, mass-murdering psychopaths like you." The memories of what Michael had done to her brother and the countless lives he had mercilessly taken in Wuxia and Nagaland fueled Elysia's intense hatred toward him. Despite the fact that Michael was Noah's brother, there was not an ounce of love or compassion for him in Elysia's heart. "Ah, the typical facade of righteousness," Michael responded, his tone laced with sarcasm. He saw through Alicia's motives clearly. You may deceive others with your leadership in this war, but you can't fool me. Your true intention is to avenge your brother. The lives I've taken mean nothing to you. You're simply using these people in the hope of getting your revenge against me. If you truly cared about their lives, you would have urged them to abandon the guild and flee. Michael gestured toward the army of guardians standing before him, emphasizing Alicia's true intentions. But no, you want to cling to a small glimmer of hope that you can defeat me with their help. Well, here's an offer for you. Since you despise me so much and claim to value lives, I'll reduce my cultivation to match your fusion stage. I'll even fight you with my eyes closed and one hand behind my back. If you manage to make me bleed even a single drop of blood, I will spare the Guardian Guild and everyone here. The onlookers were taken aback by Michael's unexpected proposition, their astonishment evident on their faces. He continued to shock them with his unconventional offer, challenging Alicia directly. Michael noticed the flicker of temptation in Alicia's eyes as he presented his offer. He locked his gaze with hers, urging her to consider the gravity of the situation. Come now, Lady Winston. Cast aside your pride for a moment and truly see the lives at stake here, Michael implored, his voice filled with a hint of persuasion. He gestured towards the surrounding people, emphasizing their youth and the potential they held. They have dreams to fulfill, futures ahead of them. Are you willing to let your stubbornness cloud your judgment and let them perish? Deep down, we both know that this is your sole opportunity to save all these lives. His words hung in the air, carrying a weight of truth. The onlookers watched in anticipation, fully aware that this moment held the fate of many. Alicia's eyes flickered with a mix of determination and conflict as she contemplated Michael's offer, the choice before her growing increasingly clear. If you're still unsure about my offer, allow me to give you a glimpse of the force you'll be facing, Michael stated, his smile fading from his face. As he spoke, a sense of darkness pervaded the surroundings, casting an eerie shadow over the area. Suddenly, one of the massive crystals, previously used to illuminate the island, shattered into pieces without any visible cause. The guardians and onlookers stood frozen in shock, witnessing the display of Michael's power. With a slight adjustment of his sunglasses, Michael unleashed two menacing beams from his eyes. The dark beams pierced through the floating warship in the distance, effortlessly slicing it in half. Even the powerful shield generated by intricate arrays failed to protect the vessel. The severed halves tumbled from the sky, crashing into the sea below and erupting in a fiery explosion. The onlookers gasped in disbelief at the sheer destructive force unleashed by Michael. The realization of his immense power settled upon them like a heavyweight. It was a clear demonstration that challenging him would be a formidable task. I accept, Alicia quickly responded, determined to prevent further loss of life. Michael smiled and removed his sunglasses, placing them around his neck. With a raised hand, he caused a momentary jolt among the army of guardians, causing them to tense, thinking he was about to unleash an attack. However, Michael's amusement was evident as a piece of cloth gracefully flew into his grasp from the island. Deliberately, he tied the cloth securely over his eyes, obscuring his vision. With a swift motion of his wrist, he summoned his legendary weapon, the Doombringer, from his spatial ring. The imposing warhammer possessed a unique design, featuring one blunt head and one pointed head. Engraved with ancient runes and infused with an ice core of immense power, the Doombringer granted Michael the ability to summon intense frost at will. Its black surface gleamed ominously under the moonlight. As he positioned his hand behind his back, Michael's cultivation gradually diminished from the half-celestial stage to the fusion stage. However, this decision was not an act of recklessness or foolishness on his part. With a thorough scan of his surroundings, he ensured there were no unexpected surprises awaiting him during the impending duel. Moreover, his loyal minions stood watch from a safe distance, ensuring no interference would disrupt the battle he was about to engage in. Michael carried out these actions not out of arrogance but to demonstrate the stark contrast between his power and Alicia's perceived strength. By covering his eyes and restricting his dominant hand, He aimed to highlight how feeble Alicia's hopes of seeking revenge truly were. It was a calculated move to expose her vulnerability and emphasize the vast power differential between them. This display was intended to make Alicia realize the futility of her efforts and the impossibility of overcoming Michael's might. "Let's begin," Michael declared. His voice resonated with a calm confidence that sent shivers down the spines of the onlookers. With those simple words, the air crackled with anticipation, and the stage was set for an intense showdown between the Dark Lord and Alicia, who longed to avenge her brother and end Michael's life for years. The atmosphere grew heavy with suspense as everyone held their breath, knowing that the clash between these two formidable warriors would decide the fate of countless lives. Chapter 972. Michael versus Alicia. Alicia's sword glinted in the crystal light as she lunged forward. Her eyes focused and determination etched on her face. With a swift, fluid motion, she aimed a powerful strike toward Michael's chest. But to her astonishment, Michael effortlessly sidestepped the attack, his blindfolded eyes seemingly seeing every move. As Alicia's sword sliced through the air, Michael smoothly evaded each subsequent slash with a series of agile movements. His body seemed to flow with the rhythm of the battle, his reflexes honed to perfection. With remarkable precision, he relied on his heightened senses and intuition to predict Alicia's every move. Using only his legs, Michael executed acrobatic flips and twists, avoiding Alicia's strikes with an ethereal grace. He moved with such fluidity that it appeared as if he were dancing in midair. Alicia's frustration grew as her attacks were effortlessly evaded, unable to land a single blow on her elusive opponent. In one particular moment, as Alicia aimed a diagonal slash towards Michael's exposed flank, he swiftly twisted his body, dodging the attack with a hair's breadth. In that split second, he countered with a lightning-fast kick, propelling himself backward and catching Alicia off guard. His foot connected with her abdomen, launching her backward through the air. Undeterred, Alicia quickly regained her composure and resumed her assault. She unleashed a flurry of rapid strikes, her sword a blur in the night sky. Yet, no matter how relentless her onslaught, Michael's evasion remained flawless. With every step, twist, and turn, he seemed to anticipate her moves, leaving her sword to slice through empty air. Michael's agility was matched only by his extraordinary speed. At one moment, as Alicia attempted a surprise attack from above, he smoothly flipped backward, his body arcing in a seamless motion. In midair, he extended his leg and delivered a powerful kick directly to Alicia's chest, sending her hurtling downwards. The aerial duel continued, the clash of wills and skills playing out in the vast expanse of the sky. Michael's movements were a captivating display of grace and mastery, each evasion and counterattack executed with precision and finesse. Despite the blindfold obscuring his vision and the handicap of using only one hand and his legs, he seemed to possess an otherworldly awareness, effortlessly outmaneuvering Alicia at every turn. The battle raged on, the sky serving as the backdrop for this extraordinary display of combat prowess. Each move, each evasion, and each counterattack showcased Michael's dominance over his opponent, leaving no doubt as to the vast gap in their skills. As the clash continued, the outcome of this epic confrontation hung in the balance, the fate of the Guardian Guild itself resting on the outcome of this fateful battle in the heavens. As Alicia realized that her sword strikes were proving ineffective, she decided to switch tactics. Channeling her magical energy, she summoned a chilling breeze around her, creating an aura of frost. With a determined expression, she cast a spell, sending shards of ice hurtling toward Michael. But Michael was ready. With a flick of his wrist, he tossed his Doombringer high into the air, allowing it to spin gracefully. In that brief moment, he swiftly summoned his black shield with his free hand, the shield retracting on his forearm in a blink of an eye. As the shards of ice approached, Michael expertly maneuvered the shield, blocking and deflecting each projectile effortlessly. He taunted Alicia with a sly smile, his voice carrying through the wind. "Is that the best you can do, Alicia? Casting your frosty spells, hoping for a lucky hit? I must say your attempts are rather feeble. I expected more from the mighty Alicia Winston." With a swift motion, Michael caught his Doombringer as it descended from above. He twirled the war hammer in his hand, the runes etched upon it shimmering ominously. You couldn't even land a single hit on me, blindfolded and fighting with one hand. It's truly a pitiful sight. Alicia gritted her teeth, her determination intensifying. She unleashed a torrent of icy projectiles, hoping to overwhelm Michael's defenses. But each time, he blocked her spells with precise timing and graceful movements. His black shield seemed impenetrable, absorbing the impact of the ice shards without faltering. With every blocked spell, Michael continued to taunt Alicia. "Is this all you've got, Alicia? I expected a more formidable challenge. Perhaps you should consider giving up and saving yourself the embarrassment." His mocking words echoed through the air, fueling Alicia's determination even further. She refused to be discouraged by his taunts, pushing her magical abilities to the limit. Yet, no matter how relentless her assault became, Michael's defenses remained unyielding. The fight continued in a mesmerizing display of skill and defiance. Michael effortlessly deflected Alicia's frosty spells, his movements fluid and stylish. He danced with his shield and his Doombringer, a symphony of agility and power. Each block, each parry, was executed with finesse and precision, mocking Alicia's attempts at victory. As Alicia unleashed a flurry of spells, Michael deftly blocked and evaded each one with his black shield, his movements seamless and precise. With his blindfold still in place, he relied on his heightened senses and instinct to anticipate Alicia's attacks. In between deflecting spells, Michael closed the distance between them with lightning speed. He unleashed a series of swift kicks, aiming for vulnerable points. His strikes were accurate and powerful, sending shockwaves through the air. Alicia tried her best to evade, but Michael's agility and speed made it nearly impossible. Occasionally, Michael would incorporate his Doombringer into his attacks, swinging it with tremendous force. Each strike was calculated and devastating, making Alicia's defenses crumble. The sheer impact of his blows sent her flying backward, her body spinning uncontrollably through the sky. With a final, forceful kick, Michael sent Alicia hurtling toward the hovering warships. She crashed onto one of the vessels, her body skidding across its surface. The impact was fierce, leaving her gasping for breath and coughing up blood. Michael hovered in the air, a sinister smirk spreading across his face. "Is that all you have, Alicia? Your feeble attempts are nothing compared to my power. You are outmatched and outclassed." He slowly descended towards Alicia's location, his Doombringer hanging loosely by his side. The wind whispered around them, carrying his mocking words. "You thought you could avenge your brother? You thought you could defeat me? How pathetic." Alicia struggled to rise, her body bruised and battered. She glared up at Michael, defiance flickering in her eyes. Despite the pain, she summoned the last vestiges of her strength. "I won't. Give up. I will. Make you pay." Michael's laughter echoed through the air, a chilling sound that sent shivers down Alicia's spine. "Oh, Alicia, your determination is admirable. But it's futile. This battle is already decided. You cannot defeat me." With Alicia struggling to regain her footing, Michael seized the opportunity to unleash a relentless assault. He no longer held back, his every move executed with lethal precision. The blindfold that covered his eyes seemed inconsequential as he effortlessly anticipated Alicia's feeble attempts to defend herself. His movements were a blur as he closed in on her, striking with lightning speed. A barrage of punches and kicks rained down upon Alicia, each blow infused with a chilling aura. She could barely react as the force of his attacks sent her reeling, her body battered and bruised. Michael's strikes were relentless, his ferocity unmatched. He seemed to possess an otherworldly grace as he weaved through the air, striking with calculated accuracy. His Doombringer, momentarily forgotten, hung silently by his side, as his bare hands proved to be more than sufficient. No longer mocking, Michael's voice turned cold and menacing. "Did you really think you stood a chance against me, Alicia? You're nothing more than an annoyance. Each blow from Michael sent Alicia spiraling further into despair. She gasped for air, pain coursing through her body with every movement. Desperation fueled her resolve as she tried desperately to muster a counterattack. But her efforts were in vain. Michael's onslaught continued unabated, leaving her defenseless. As Alicia's strength waned, Michael's sadistic laughter filled the air. Pathetic. You cannot defeat me. Your struggle only makes me laugh. His voice dripped with a cruel satisfaction, relishing in the torment he inflicted upon her. With one final devastating strike, Michael sent Alicia hurtling backward, her body crashing into the remnants of a shattered warship. The impact reverberated through the air, leaving Alicia motionless and battered, her will to fight shattered. Michael hovered above her, a triumphant smirk etched upon his face. This is your fate, Alicia Winston. Remember it as the price you pay for standing against me. The battlefield fell silent, save for Alicia's labored breaths. The Dark Lord had proven his dominance, leaving Alicia and the Guardian Guild in a state of helplessness. As Alicia summoned the last remnants of her strength, a flicker of desperation gleamed in her eyes. With a resolute determination, she channeled her life force into a forbidden spell, a powerful surge of frost gathering in her outstretched hands. The temperature plummeted as the air around her crackled with raw energy. But Michael only snickered in response, his amusement apparent. He raised his Doombringer, the ancient ice core within resonating with his command. In an instant, a formidable stream of frost surged forth, meeting Alicia's spell head-on. The clash was cataclysmic, a clash of elemental powers that chilled everything around them. The streams of frost clashed in the middle of the sky, creating a swirling vortex of icy energy. The intense cold permeated the air, causing even the bravest warriors to shiver. Alicia strained against the overwhelming force, her spell beginning to falter under the weight of Michael's power. With each passing moment, Michael's frost gained ground, inching closer to Alicia. The power within his attack overwhelmed her, extinguishing her desperate attempt to turn the tide. His mastery over ice and cold proved to be far superior, leaving Alicia defenseless against his relentless onslaught. Alicia's expression twisted with a mixture of determination and despair as she fought to hold back Michael's frost. The strain was evident in her weary eyes, her life force depleting with every passing second. Yet, she refused to yield, clinging to the faint hope that she could somehow emerge victorious. But Michael's grin widened, his eyes glinting with a mixture of malice and satisfaction. He relished in her futile struggle, knowing that her efforts were in vain. The power of his frost grew stronger, a relentless force that overwhelmed Alicia's fading spell. As Michael's frost inched closer, Alicia's resistance waned. Her spell faltered, weakened by the sheer magnitude of Michael's power. The frost enveloped her, freezing her movements, draining her life force with each passing second. In a final display of dominance, Michael's frost consumed Alicia completely, encasing her in a crystalline prison. Her body stood frozen, a monument to her valiant yet futile resistance. Michael descended slowly, his eyes fixed upon the frozen figure before him. The guardians and onlookers stood in stunned silence, their eyes wide with disbelief. They had witnessed the battle unfold before them, their hopes dwindling with each passing moment. Despite Alicia's unwavering determination, it became painfully apparent that she couldn't land a single hit on the Dark Lord, even with his blindfolded eyes and one hand behind his back. Whispers of disbelief rippled through the crowd as they struggled to comprehend the magnitude of Michael's power. They had known he was formidable, but to witness his effortless evasion and domination over Alicia, their esteemed leader, left them shaken to the core. The reality of their situation began to sink in, overshadowing their earlier courage and resolve. The onlookers exchanged glances, their faces etched with a mix of fear and awe. They had placed their faith in Alicia, hoping that she would be the one to stand against the Dark Lord and lead them to victory. But now, their hopes were shattered, replaced by a grim understanding of the immense gap in power between them. Whispers turned into hushed murmurs as they struggled to comprehend the extent of Michael's skill. How could someone fight with such finesse, with such mastery over their own body and the battlefield? The Guardians questioned their own abilities, their own worth in the face of such overwhelming superiority. All eyes were fixated on the Dark Lord, Michael, and Alicia, who was trapped within the crystalline prison. The onlookers held their breath, unsure of what would unfold next. They were aware of the deep-seated animosity between Michael and Alicia, yet they couldn't help but wonder how this complicated dynamic would play out. Despite their shared history and the enmity between them, Alicia was Noah's wife, which made Alicia the Dark Lord's sister-in-law, and that fact added an unexpected layer of uncertainty to the situation. The crowd was left to speculate about the Dark Lord's intentions. Would he strike down Alicia with ruthless indifference, disregarding the connection? Or would some remnant of compassion and familial bond sway his actions? Chapter 973, Alicia's Death. I have released new DBS and AHSS chapters. Enjoy the chapters. While Alicia's body remained trapped within the crystal, the Alpha Guardians sprang into action, determined to rescue her from her crystalline prison. With urgency in their eyes, they ascended to the sky, their hearts filled with hope and determination. As Michael, the Dark Lord, loomed above them, a chilling silence fell over the battlefield. His towering presence exuded a sense of power and menace, sending a shiver down the spines of those who dared to challenge him. With a swift and commanding motion, Michael raised his mighty Doombringer, a weapon of devastating power. Its ominous aura filled the air, a foreboding sign of the imminent danger that awaited. A collective gasp escaped the lips of the Alpha Guardians as they witnessed the impending strike. Their hearts pounded in their chests, knowing that time was running out to save their fallen comrade. Michael removed the blindfold and threw the piece of cloth down. Then, in a swift, decisive motion, Michael swung his Doombringer toward the crystal that confined Alicia. The impact echoed through the air, causing the fragile structure to shatter into countless shards that glittered like stars. As the crystal shattered, a tragic sight unfolded before the eyes of the Alpha Guardians. Some of the crystal fragments were stained with a deep crimson hue, Alicia's blood mingling with the broken pieces. The sight was a painful reminder of the sacrifice and the life that had been abruptly taken away. The Alpha Guardians stood frozen for a moment, their hearts heavy with grief and disbelief. The loss of their esteemed ally left an indelible mark on their souls, a reminder of the brutal reality of their world. The unfolding scene sent shockwaves through the witnesses and the Guardians, shaking them to their very core. Some among them held a glimmer of hope, believing that Alicia's connection to Noah, the Dark Lord's brother, might invoke a flicker of mercy from Michael. They thought that familial ties could soften his heart and spare Alicia's life. However, contrary to their expectations, Michael coldly and swiftly ended Alicia's existence, without a second thought. Deep within Michael's being, he harbored a profound understanding of Alicia's vehement hatred towards him. He recognized the dangerous depths of her animosity, aware that if she were allowed to live, she would continue plotting against him relentlessly. He feared that her unrelenting hatred would erode her righteousness, transforming her into a force that could harm those dear to him, particularly Gaia, his soon-to-be wife. Having conversed with the previous Dark Lord, Michael had learned of the grim fate that awaited Gaia in countless other timelines, where death claimed her without fail. Determined to shield her from harm and ensure her survival, Michael made a solemn vow. He resolved to protect her at all costs, prepared to eliminate anyone who posed a threat to her safety, devoid of even the faintest trace of mercy. In his unwavering determination, Michael was willing to face the entire world, should it turn against him. His resolve to safeguard his beloved wife was unyielding, as he would go to any lengths necessary, even if it meant extinguishing countless lives, to ensure her continued existence. Following Alicia's demise, Michael's inner energy surged forth, breaking free from its suppressed state. His cultivation soared, propelling him from the fusion stage to the lofty realm of the half-celestial stage. The sheer power emanating from him caused a gentle whistling sound that resonated throughout the vicinity, a testament to his overwhelming aura. In a commanding gesture, Michael raised his hand and swiftly snapped his fingers. The crystals adorning the airships, which emitted a brilliant luminosity, shattered into countless fragments. As a consequence, darkness enveloped the Hulwick Isle and its surroundings once more, casting a shadow over the previously illuminated expanse. As the darkness engulfed the surroundings, Michael invoked the Cloak of Shadows, a mystical veil that encased him entirely. Within this shroud, his form became obscured, and dark flames flickered ominously around him. Hovering in midair, Michael slowly drew his dual dark swords from their scabbards, their blades gleaming with an eerie darkness. Meanwhile, the guardians of the guild stood resolute, prepared to defend their cause and fight to the bitter end. Warships, both in the sky and on the sea, adjusted their cannons and weapons, taking aim at the imposing figure of the Dark Lord. Undeterred by the immense disparity in cultivation, hundreds of guardians ascended into the sky, ready to confront Michael in a valiant aerial battle. As the Alpha Guardians, Roshan, Vivian, and Garrick soared through the sky with their troops, their eyes fixed on their sole adversary, Michael, the Dark Lord. The battle unfolded on a grand scale, with the fate of their world hanging in the balance. Roshan, with his commanding presence akin to a majestic lion, led the charge of the Beast Guardians. Golden-maned and resolute, he unleashed a primal roar that resonated across the battlefield. His fellow guardians, embodying the ferocity of untamed beasts, joined him in a synchronized assault. They pounced upon Michael, their claws tearing through the air with lightning speed, while others summoned the forces of nature to bind and hinder him. Vivian, her fiery-haired visage shimmering with mystic power, commanded the Sorcerer Guardians. Positioned strategically, she wove intricate spells that ignited the sky with bursts of dazzling energy. Her incantations summoned tempests of arcane lightning that crackled and danced, striking at Michael with relentless fury. She conjured swirling vortexes that unleashed gusts of wind, threatening to swallow him whole. Each spell cast by Vivian unleashed devastation, leaving trails of destruction in its wake. Garrick, the seasoned warrior with weathered armor and battle-hardened valor, stood at the forefront of the warrior guardians. His scarred countenance revealed a wealth of experience and determination. With his enchanted blade held firmly in hand, he led his comrades with unwavering resolve. Each swing of his sword sent shockwaves rippling through the air, cutting through the darkness that surrounded Michael. The warrior guardians fought with unyielding strength and skill, their weapons clashing against the formidable Dark Lord. Garrick's mere presence bolstered the morale of the warriors fighting alongside him, each strike they delivered carrying the weight of their collective resolve. The sky became a battlefield as the guardians and their troops engaged Michael, unleashing a symphony of fantastical powers and weapons. Vivian's spells intertwined with Roshan's relentless assaults, creating a tapestry of chaos and destruction. Explosions erupted, showering the heavens with cascades of vibrant colors. Vivian, harnessing the full force of her sorcery, conjured celestial fireballs that streaked across the sky, exploding upon impact with Michael. Each detonation sent shockwaves rippling through the atmosphere, rattling the very foundation of their reality. Roshan, in tandem, channeled ancient elemental forces, his power resonating through the sky. With a mighty roar, he summoned swirling tempests of wind and surges of crackling lightning. The very air around Michael became charged with raw energy, creating a tumultuous storm that threatened to engulf him. Dark clouds converged above, crackling with electricity and unleashing torrents of rain and hail, creating a chaotic backdrop to the battle in the heavens. As the battle raged on, Garrick's focus remained on Michael, the Dark Lord who floated ominously in the midst of the chaos. With an unwavering gaze, he prepared himself for the impending clash, his senses sharpened and instincts honed. Garrick's enchanted blade hummed with latent power, pulsating with the anticipation of the duel to come. Yet, before Garrick could engage Michael directly, the clash of their weapons postponed. A powerful gust of wind swept through the sky, momentarily disrupting their trajectory. The wind, an extension of Roshan's elemental forces, buffeted Michael, threatening to knock him off balance. Sparks of electricity crackled around Garrick's armor as the clash of their energies electrified the air. The brilliance of their opposing forces illuminated the battlefield, casting an otherworldly glow on the combatants and their surroundings. As Roshan summoned ancient elemental forces, the sky transformed into a tempest of raging winds and crackling lightning. Dark clouds swirled above, unleashing bolts of energy that illuminated the battlefield with flashes of brilliance. Streams of fire and gushing torrents of water erupted from the heavens, threatening to consume their formidable adversary, who hovered effortlessly in the midst of the chaos. Meanwhile, Garrick, the epitome of warrior prowess, soared through the air with unwavering determination, his enchanted blade gleaming with a radiant aura. He zeroed in on Michael, the Dark Lord, who exuded an aura of dark power and unyielding resolve. With each calculated maneuver, Garrick closed the distance between them, his eyes locked on his target. The clash of their opposing forces was a sight to behold. Garrick's blade, guided by battle-hardened valor, slashed through the air with unmatched speed and precision, aiming to breach the Dark Lord's defenses. Yet, to the astonishment of the onlookers, Michael proved to be an elusive and formidable adversary. With a flicker of his hand, Michael effortlessly deflected Garrick's blade, his movements a graceful dance amidst the chaos. It was a display of supernatural skill and speed that left even the most seasoned warriors in awe. Without hesitation, Michael retaliated, his own weapon, wreathed in darkness, slashing through the air with lethal intent. In a heart-wrenching moment, the Dark Lord's blade found its mark. With a chilling swiftness, the razor-sharp edge sliced through the air, tearing through the defenses of Garrick's armor as though it were mere parchment. The clash of metal against metal rang out, drowning amidst the roaring winds of the sky. In a gruesome display of power, the Dark Lord's strike severed flesh and sinew, unleashing a torrent of crimson. Blood sprayed forth from Garrick's severed neck, a macabre fountain painting the air with a gruesome hue. As if suspended in time, Garrick's head, still bearing the shock of the battle in its opened eyes, flew through the air. The head, released from its now lifeless body, seemed to defy gravity for a fleeting moment. It was an image frozen in the minds of all who bore witness, a testament to the brutality and finality of the Dark Lord's strike. And then, with a sickening thud, the head descended, lost forever to the depths below. With hearts heavy with grief and determination, the Guardians refused to yield to despair. The loss of Garrick only steeled their resolve to fight on, for their fallen comrade, and for the future of their world. Amidst the chaos of battle, there was no time for mourning or hesitation. In perfect synchronization, the warships unleashed their devastating firepower upon the Dark Lord Michael. Cannons roared and projectiles soared through the air, aiming to find their mark and weaken the formidable foe who hovered in the sky. Explosions rocked the battlefield, illuminating the darkened heavens with flashes of blinding light. Vivian, her fiery hair blazing with intensity, called upon ancient incantations to summon spells of unparalleled destruction. Arcane energy crackled around her as she unleashed torrents of flames, engulfing the sky in a fiery inferno. Her voice resonated with power as she chanted the ancient words, each syllable carrying the weight of her unwavering determination. Roshan, his commanding presence undeterred by the loss of his comrade, rallied the remaining Guardians. His voice boomed like thunder as he roared across the battlefield, his words echoing through the hearts of all who fought alongside him. For Garrick, for our fallen brethren, we fight for justice and the salvation of our world. Strike with all your might. Show no mercy. The Guardians, their voices blending into a chorus of defiance, echoed Roshan's battle cry. Their shouts filled the air as they unleashed their fury upon the Dark Lord. Swords clashed, spears thrust, and arrows found their targets. Each Guardian fought with unwavering courage, their spirits aflame with the determination to vanquish the source of darkness that threatened their existence. The sky became a mesmerizing tapestry of chaos and illumination as spells collided with cannon fire. Brilliant streaks of vibrant energy cut through the air, intermingling with explosions that painted the heavens in a kaleidoscope of colors. The sky crackled and shimmered with the raw power unleashed, a breathtaking display of light and fury that bore witness to the epic clash between the Guardians and the Dark Lord. Roshan's voice thundered through the chaos. "Unleash your fury, Guardians. For Garrick's sacrifice we shall prevail." Vivian's fiery gaze met Michael's evasive movements, her voice resolute. "No corner of the sky shall shield you from our wrath, Dark Lord." The Guardians, undeterred by their adversary's nimble evasion, continued their onslaught with unwavering determination. With each missed shot and deflected spell, the Dark Lord's confidence seemed to grow, his movements displaying an almost unearthly grace as he danced through the barrage unscathed. It was as if the very air bent to his will, allowing him to evade their every strike without a hint of exertion. As the Dark Lord effortlessly evaded the spells and left shimmering afterimages in his wake, his voice echoed through the sky with a chilling calmness. "Behold, Guardians," he began, his tone filled with subtle amusement. "Allow me to share a story with you. Once there was an ant so small and insignificant. It dreamed of moving a mountain, exerting all its strength to no avail. The mountain remained steadfast, immovable. Do you see the parallel, Guardians?" He continued to evade their attacks, his movements graceful and calculated. "You are the ants and I am the mountain. No matter how hard you try, your efforts are futile against my might." His words carried a sense of superiority, amplifying the frustration of the Guardians as they struggled to land a single blow. With each evasion, the Dark Lord seemed to grow more confident, playing with them as if they were mere pawns in his grand design. As the Dark Lord's story reached its conclusion, he abruptly halted his movements, suspending himself in midair. The Guardians, momentarily frozen by his words, watched in horror as he raised his hand. A wave of dark flames surged forth, engulfing the surrounding warships and the Guardians in a torrent of infernal destruction. The once mighty vessels, their cannons still blazing, were reduced to mere embers, consumed by the unstoppable blaze. The Guardians' cries, filled with determination just moments before, were abruptly cut short as the flames licked hungrily at their forms. Their valiant spirits and hopes turned to ash, fading away in the devastating heat, leaving behind only a haunting silence in the wake of their annihilation. The sky, once vibrant with the clash of powers, now bore witness to the grim aftermath, where only charred remnants and the echoes of despair remained. Chapter 974. Fall of all Alpha Guardians. The flames of darkness, unleashed from Michael's hands through the power of the Ring of Fire, grew in intensity until they transformed into a colossal wave resembling a crescent moon. With a sweeping motion, the fiery crescent surged across the sky, obliterating warships and reducing Guardians to mere ashes. Hovering high above Hulwick Island, Michael engaged the entire army single-handedly, his half-celestial stage granting him an unassailable advantage. Despite the relentless barrage of spells and cannon fire unleashed by the Guardians and the warships, none could come close to harming him in his formidable state. Alpha Guardians Vivian and Roshan, recognizing the urgency of the situation, joined forces against Michael. Vivian unleashed her devastating spells, weaving intricate patterns of mystical energy that illuminated the battlefield. Meanwhile, Roshan, the Alpha Guardian of the Beast Guardians, roared with primal fury and underwent a stunning transformation, assuming the majestic form of a golden lion. Radiating a brilliant glow, Roshan stood nearly 8 feet tall, his presence commanding and awe-inspiring. To provide cover for Roshan's close-quarters battle with the Dark Lord, his unit, the Beast Guardians, followed suit, transforming into their primal forms. In the sky above and the sea below, airships and warships focused their attacks on Michael, intensifying their assault to unprecedented levels. The battlefield became a mesmerizing spectacle, vibrant and alive with the dazzling array of spells shimmering in every hue imaginable. The sky resembled a tapestry of light as hundreds of Guardians soared through the air, converging upon Michael like a relentless swarm of bees, their determination radiating in their every move. The scene unfolded as a grand battle, where the clash of powers and the symphony of destruction painted a vivid picture of chaos and heroism in equal measure. As the Guardians closed in on Michael, a sinister grin spread across his face, foretelling his impending move. With both hands raised, each gripping a dark sword, Michael began to invoke Ignatia's ultimate form. The very moment his spell took hold, foreboding clouds materialized in the sky, their darkness rivaling the deepest midnight. Crackling with potent lightning energy, the clouds unleashed rumbling echoes that drowned out the sounds of spells and cannons firing. Even those observing the war from a safe distance could sense the palpable electricity in the air, and their attention was captivated by the spectacle unfolding before them. Onlookers murmured amongst themselves, their voices tinged with both awe and trepidation. "Look at the Dark Lord's power," one whispered, eyes wide with astonishment. "Those clouds, they speak of an immense force gathering." Another commented, a shiver running down their spine. A hushed silence fell over the crowd as they anticipated the impending cataclysm. It was as if the very atmosphere held its breath, aware that a powerful spell was about to be unleashed upon the battlefield. The sight of the ominous clouds above the Dark Lord only served to reinforce their belief that they were about to witness a display of unfathomable might. As the Guardians soared through the sky, a sense of urgency gripped them. They swiftly channeled their energy into casting protective spells to shield themselves from the impending danger. Vivian, in particular, summoned every ounce of her magical prowess to create a massive shield that enveloped the entire group. The shield shimmered with a radiant, ethereal glow, its surface rippling with intricate patterns that seemed to dance and shift. The strain of such a powerful spell was evident on Vivian's face. Beads of sweat formed on her brow, and her hands trembled as she poured her energy into the shield. The sheer magnitude of the task began to take its toll on her, evident as a trickle of blood escaped from her nose. Despite the physical weakness creeping over her, Vivian's determination burned bright, fueled by her unwavering commitment to protect her comrades. The shield grew stronger, its luminosity intensifying as Vivian pushed herself to the limit. It stood as a formidable barrier, radiating a sense of stability and resilience. The magical energies within the shield interwove, creating a complex web of protection that warded off any malevolent forces that sought to breach their defenses. It was a testament to Vivian's unwavering resolve as she channeled her magical essence into safeguarding her fellow Guardians, even at the cost of her own well-being. The Guardians in the air abruptly halted their advance toward Michael, seeking refuge beneath the shelter of their protective shields. In that very moment, Michael's chuckle resonated through the expanse of the sky, its chilling sound sending a shiver down the spines of the Guardians. "I can't decide whether to be impressed by your futile efforts or find amusement in them. In the game of kings, it's the pawns who meet their demise first. You all should have abandoned the guild while you still had the chance." Michael sneered at the Guardians, their impending doom a pitiable sight in his eyes. Once, there might have been a glimmer of mercy in his heart, but now it was overshadowed by sheer pity. As Michael's words echoed through the air, a sudden motion caught everyone's attention. With a swift downward motion, his arms unleashed a torrent of black lightning bolts, descending from the ominous clouds above him. The onslaught resembled a merciless rain of electrifying power, effortlessly piercing through Vivian's valiant defense shield that encased the Guardians. The bolts struck their targets with a searing force, overwhelming their defenses like a hot knife through butter. The impact was devastating. The once valiant Guardians, now victims of Michael's wrath, plummeted from the sky in a charred and smoking state. Their bodies, once adorned in proud armor, were reduced to a smoldering mess. From a distance, it appeared as if a swarm of bees, stripped of life, descended in a macabre display of tragedy and destruction. As the spell unleashed its devastating power, a collective gasp escaped the lips of the onlookers who watched the battle unfold from a safe distance. Their eyes widened in disbelief, and their hearts sank with a growing sense of horror. The display of Michael's immense power had surpassed anything they had witnessed before. He just took them down like they were nothing," whispered one onlooker, a tremor of fear lacing their voice. "I've never seen anything like it." Another murmured, their voice filled with dread. "The Dark Lord's power. It's beyond comprehension. Whispers of fear spread through the onlookers like wildfire, and a sense of trepidation began to overshadow their initial curiosity. The once distant threat had transformed into a living nightmare before their eyes. Is there no end to his power? A shaken voice quivered. He's become more than a mere mortal. He's become a force of nature? Someone replied, their voice laced with resignation. He is unstoppable, whispered a shaken observer, their voice barely audible. We underestimated him, and now I fear for what lies ahead. The onlookers stood in stunned silence, their hope diminishing with each passing moment. The aura of fear that enveloped them grew stronger as the realization sank in that the Dark Lord's power knew no bounds. The once faint whispers of doubt transformed into a collective realization that they were facing a force beyond their comprehension, and the weight of their fear settled upon them like a heavy cloak. Vivian's shock lingered as she witnessed the futility of her powerful shield. However, her shock quickly turned to sheer terror as she felt the Dark Lord's gaze upon her. In a desperate attempt to protect her, Roshan, in his primal form, lunged at Michael, aiming to intercept any move the Dark Lord might make. With a powerful leap, Roshan reached Michael, sinking his teeth into the Dark Lord's head. Gasps filled the air as the onlookers and guardians witnessed this daring act. Yet, their astonishment turned to disbelief as they realized Roshan had only bitten into an afterimage left behind by the Dark Lord. The collective gaze swiftly shifted to Vivian, and their hearts sank when they saw the real Dark Lord standing behind her. Vivian, oblivious to the danger lurking, gradually felt a growing sense of unease. The hairs on the back of her neck stood on end as she sensed a presence behind her, creeping fear seeping into her very being. Vivian! Roshan's roar echoed through the battlefield as the Guardians surged forward, driven solely by their desire to protect her, disregarding their own lives. But before they could reach her, the Dark Lord seized Vivian by the neck, lifting her effortlessly into the air. In a desperate bid to distract the Dark Lord, the warships unleashed a barrage of cannon fire, their aim fixed upon him. Yet, Michael swiftly cast the Sileni's spell, enveloping himself in a temporal pocket where time slowed to a crawl. Within this altered reality, he maneuvered Vivian directly in the path of a fiery cannonball, simultaneously adjusting another cannonball to strike her from the opposite side. It all unfolded within the suspended time of Sileni's, a mere blink of an eye. The Guardians and Roshan, their hearts pounding with urgency, had little time to react as they witnessed the two cannonballs collide with Vivian, shattering her bones. Before she could even utter a scream, Michael, with a chilling flick of his wrist, snapped Vivian's neck, extinguishing her life in an instant. The battlefield fell into stunned silence as the lifeless body of the Alpha Guardian crumpled, a tragic testament to the Dark Lord's unfathomable power. The onlookers watched in dismay as the Alpha Guardians, one by one, fell before the relentless might of the Dark Lord. Whispers of despair and hopelessness swept through the crowd, their voices tinged with fear and resignation. They could scarcely believe their eyes, witnessing the seemingly insurmountable power of their adversary. "He's unstoppable," one spectator muttered, his voice laden with defeat. "The Guardian Guild doesn't stand a chance against him. Perhaps it's time for them to yield," another suggested, a note of desperation in his tone. To avoid further bloodshed, they must surrender. The realization struck them hard. This was not a battle they could win. The Dark Lord's overwhelming dominance left them shaken to their core. Some even dared to speculate what would have happened if he had brought his full army to bear upon them. The scale of devastation would have been unfathomable, a thought that sent shivers down their spines. In the midst of the turmoil, the Empress of Ar, known for her poise and strategic brilliance, remained calm. She stood at a vantage point, observing the unfolding chaos with a discerning eye. A subordinate approached her cautiously, sensing her presence. "Your Highness," the subordinate began, his voice tinged with respect. "It was a wise decision for us to stay away from the Dark Lord's path." The Empress, her gaze fixed upon the battlefield, nodded slightly. "Indeed, she replied, her voice steady and unwavering. There is power in aligning with the unstoppable force rather than opposing it. We shall find a way to work with him, for the benefit of our empire. Her words held a sense of calculated determination, and those who overheard them couldn't help but wonder what plans lay hidden within the Empress' mind. While the rest of the onlookers were filled with fear and despair, she saw an opportunity in the face of the Dark Lord's might, a chance to shape the future in her favor. A hushed silence fell over the onlookers as they turned their gaze toward the Guardian Guild headquarters, their eyes widening with awe and disbelief. A thunderous roar erupted from within the walls of the stronghold, resonating through the air, capturing their attention. And then, as if summoned by some ancient power, a majestic creature materialized above the guild. A golden dragon with not one, but two magnificent heads, its ethereal form colossal and awe-inspiring. Gasps of astonishment rippled through the crowd as they beheld the mythical creature hovering in the sky. Whispers of amazement and wonderment intermingled with their shock. "By the heavens, what is that?" one onlooker exclaimed, his voice filled with disbelief. "I've never seen anything like it," another replied, his eyes wide with awe. "A two-headed dragon, and it emanates such power." The onlookers watched in rapt attention as the majestic dragon circled above the headquarters, its radiant presence casting an ethereal glow across the battlefield. There was an air of hope and anticipation, an inkling that perhaps, against all odds, the tide of the battle could still be turned. Amidst the whispers and murmurs, the Empress of Ar stood with an impassive expression. Her eyes remained fixed on the mystical creature, studying its every movement with keen interest. With a calm yet resolute voice, she addressed her companion. "This dragon is one of the Guardian Guild's last line of defense," she stated, her tone carrying a note of determination. "They have unveiled their ultimate trump card. Let us see what this mystical being is truly capable of." Her words hung in the air, a quiet declaration of her intent to witness the unfolding events with strategic insight. The onlookers, despite their fear and uncertainty, found a glimmer of hope within the Empress' composed demeanor, knowing that this mythical guardian might just hold the key to turning the tide of the battle against the Dark Lord. Chapter 975. Battle of the Half-Celestials. The appearance of the majestic dragon did little to disturb Michael's composure. His knowledge of the Guardian Guilds might reassured him that this ethereal creature was just one of their many trump cards and last lines of defense. Yet, the dragon's presence emanated a radiant glow, casting a shimmering light upon Hulwick Island and the vast expanse of the surrounding ocean. In the ethereal glow, the harrowing aftermath of the relentless battle came into sharp focus for the onlookers. Debris from the warships Michael had effortlessly destroyed floated upon the surface of the sea, a haunting reminder of the devastation wrought upon the naval forces. Lifeless bodies, both in the water and scattered across the land of Hulwick Island, painted a grim tableau of the toll exacted by the conflict. The soil of Hulwick Island, churned by relentless spells and thunderous clashes, seemed to possess an otherworldly shimmer, as if infused with the residual energy of intense magical casting. Even the ocean surrounding the island, once calm and pristine, now bore a faint glimmer, a testament to the vast power that had been unleashed upon its depths. Amidst the eerie beauty of the glimmering light, the onlookers were reminded of the harsh reality of war. The resolute dragon unleashed another thunderous roar, propelling itself towards Michael with a determined purpose. Meanwhile, Michael's attention shifted to Roshan, the last remaining Alpha Guardian. Transformed into his mighty primal form, Roshan was fueled by a fierce desire for vengeance, spurred on by witnessing the brutal demise of his fellow Alpha Guardian, Vivian. He lunged at Michael in the open sky, his lion form growing in size and emitting a resounding roar that echoed through the air. But as Roshan drew closer to his target, Michael fixed his gaze upon him, unleashing dark beams from his eyes that pierced Roshan's lion body, causing immense pain. Despite the agony, Roshan pushed forward, determined to confront Michael. In a moment of reckoning, the rest of the Guardians, also in their primal forms, rallied around Roshan, joining forces to surround and attack the Dark Lord. The dragon soared with grace, captivating the onlookers, who stood bewildered and uncertain about the outcome of this fierce encounter. The Beast Guardians launched a ferocious assault upon the Dark Lord, employing their formidable claws and teeth with relentless fury. However, in a shocking turn of events, a thunderous explosion rocked the battlefield, hurling the Guardians away from Michael's presence. With his dark sword raised, the Dark Lord moved with incomprehensible speed, leaving only a blur of white in the darkness. In an instant, Roshan's majestic lion body lay divided, falling towards the ocean below. The swiftness and mercilessness of the Dark Lord's attack sent waves of terror through the hearts of the witnesses, shaking their resolve to its core. Before Roshan's lifeless form could touch the ocean's surface, dark beams shot forth from the Dark Lord, slicing through the remaining guardians in the sky, severing their lives with gruesome precision. The spray of blood descending from the sky sent shivers down the spines of the onlookers, a chilling reminder of the unfathomable power possessed by the Dark Lord. By the time the Golden Dragon reached its intended target, only a mere 100 guardians remained in the sky, their once defiant spirits shattered, replaced by an overwhelming sense of fear and defeat. The remaining warships in the sky and on the ocean ceased their relentless barrage, their attention now fixated on the imminent clash between the two-headed dragon and Michael. The majestic dragon had reached the half-celestial stage level 1, while Michael, fueled by the deaths he had caused, stood at the formidable half-celestial stage level 6. In a tense standoff, the dragon and Michael locked eyes, suspended in the air, an unspoken challenge passing between them. In Michael's piercing gaze, he anticipated the dragon to engage in verbal exchange, but to his surprise, it emitted a low growl instead. As an ethereal being, its physical form shimmered with ethereal scales that seemed to defy comprehension. Its monstrous size dominated the battlefield, its eyes gleaming with a mysterious intensity that held an air of ancient wisdom. Rows of sharp, glistening teeth adorned its fearsome mouth, hinting at the devastation they were capable of inflicting. Recognizing the dragon's ethereal form, he decided to forego his sword, knowing that physical weapons held little effect against such incorporeal entities. With a fluid motion, he sheathed his sword, sliding it back into the scabbard on his back, preparing himself for a battle that would require more than mere physical force. A mischievous smirk curled upon his lips as he relished the prospect of facing a formidable adversary. Finally, a challenge, he chuckled, his voice laced with amusement. A war without a challenge is rather dull. Wouldn't you agree? In response, the dragon sneered, emitting a stream of glistening smoke from its nostrils, a silent indication of its readiness for battle. As Michael fixed his gaze upon the dragon, his attention was captivated by a small palm-sized rune shimmering on the creature's neck. However, before he could decipher its meaning, his focus was abruptly interrupted as the dragon unleashed a radiant ethereal ball of golden energy from its open mouth. Reacting swiftly, a protective shield materialized around Michael, absorbing a significant portion of the potent energy. Nonetheless, the residual force propelled Michael backward several meters, eliciting gasps of astonishment from the onlookers. It was the first time they had witnessed the Dark Lord sustain a blow of such magnitude since the commencement of the war. Instead of succumbing to anger, Michael's face lit up with a gleeful expression as he embraced the prospect of a true challenge. The mere thought of the sheer number of badass points he would accumulate by triumphing over the dragon sent his blood surging with exhilaration. Throughout the course of this war, he had already amassed an impressive tally of nearly 80 million badass points, and conquering this formidable creature promised to augment his score even further. Aware of the dragon's ethereal form, Michael summoned dark flames to writhe and dance above his hands, their sinister glow an ominous portent. Yet again, the dragon unleashed a golden ball of energy, hurtling through the air with the swiftness of a bullet. However, this time, Michael deftly invoked the power of Silenes, causing time to decelerate within his immediate vicinity. Within the encompassing field of the Silenes spell, the once swift golden energy ball gradually lost its velocity, appearing to move as if trapped in molasses. Sensing an opportune moment, Michael unleashed a powerful punch, his fist wreathed in flickering dark flames. The impact shattered the golden energy ball into countless fragments as time resumed its normal flow. And so, the epic clash between Michael and the dragon commenced. The clash between the Dark Lord and the dragon ignited a spectacular aerial duel in the vast expanse of the sky. The dragon, with its immense size and two menacing heads, unleashed a relentless assault. One head lunged forward, attempting to snap at the Dark Lord with razor-sharp teeth, while the other head continuously spewed forth a barrage of shimmering energy balls. Undeterred, the Dark Lord displayed incredible agility and combat prowess, seamlessly evading the dragon's physical attacks. With swift and calculated movements, he countered the energy balls, dispersing them with his fists enveloped in swirling dark flames. Each collision created a magnificent display of sparks and bursts of darkness. Sensing an opportunity, the Dark Lord swiftly descended toward the sea level, where a warship floated ominously. In one swift motion, he lifted the warship with his formidable strength, imbued it with his dark flames, and hurled it towards the dragon. The flaming warship soared through the air, trailing a path of destruction, before colliding with the dragon's massive form. The impact generated an explosion that reverberated through the sky, engulfing both combatants in a shower of flames and smoke. Emerging unscathed, the Dark Lord ascended back into the sky, his resolve unshaken. He continued his relentless assault, unleashing a barrage of punches enhanced by the dark flames. Each strike connected with precision, delivering powerful blows to the dragon's scaled bodies. The clash of their forces created shockwaves that rippled through the air, causing the onlookers below to tremble in awe and terror. As the battle raged on, the Dark Lord's movements became a mesmerizing dance of power and agility. He seamlessly weaved through the dragon's attacks, evading its ferocious bites and gracefully countering with his fiery fists. With each strike, the dragon's resistance weakened, evident in the cracks forming on its ethereal scales and the pained roars that echoed through the sky. In this epic battle, the Dark Lord fought with unrivaled badassery, pushing his limits and showcasing his mastery over dark flames and hand-to-hand combat. His every move was executed with a deadly precision, displaying a combination of strength, speed, and sheer determination. At one point, the Dark Lord dove down towards the sea, his eyes ablaze with determination. He seized a nearby warship, its massive hull looming beneath him. With a touch of his dark flames, the ship was instantaneously consumed, reduced to ashes in a matter of seconds. Yet, the Dark Lord acted swiftly, his movements a blur as he hurled the ship towards the dragon before the flames could fully engulf it. The flaming vessel hurtled through the air, a deadly projectile aimed directly at the dragon's colossal form. As the Dark Lord continued his assault, his speed was nothing short of astonishing. He seamlessly transitioned from one ship to another, consecutively lifting and launching them toward the dragon. The onlookers watched in awe as the Dark Lord's movements were a blur, his strikes relentless and unyielding. Ship after ship became a fiery missile, soaring through the air with the force of the Dark Lord's immense strength. The onlookers marveled at the sight as the warship collided with the dragon, causing a cataclysmic explosion of fire and debris. Undeterred by the chaos, the Dark Lord moved with astonishing speed and agility, repeatedly swooping down to seize another warship. Each time, he ignited the ship with his dark flames, ensuring it would be a devastating weapon against the dragon. The onlookers watched in awe as ship after ship was transformed into a blaze of darkness, moments before being thrown with incredible force at the dragon. The relentless assault of the Dark Lord forced the dragon to retreat, its ethereal form unable to withstand the barrage of flaming warships. The onlookers gasped as the dragon struggled to defend itself, crashing into the Guardian Guild headquarters on Hulwick Island under the relentless onslaught. Amidst the chaos and destruction, the onlookers whispered in awe and disbelief at the epic clash unfolding before their eyes. "Did you see that? The Dark Lord is unstoppable. He's moving so fast, it's like a blur. And those dark flames, they're incredible. Nothing can stand against him. He's a force of nature." As the battle raged on, The onlookers were both terrified and captivated by the spectacle of the Dark Lord's relentless assault. They could only watch in awe and trepidation as the clash between the Dark Lord and the dragon reshaped the very skies above them. The impact of the dragon crashing into the Guardian Guild headquarters was catastrophic. The mighty structure, once a symbol of the guild's strength and unity, trembled under the force of the collision. The ethereal form of the dragon, though intangible, possessed a tangible impact that reverberated through the building. As the dragon collided with the headquarters, the structure groaned and quaked under the immense strain. Walls cracked, pillars crumbled, and debris rained down from above. The once imposing edifice of the guild now stood weakened and compromised. Despite the dragon's ethereal nature, its sheer power and force shattered the building's structural integrity. The ethereal form manifested a tangible presence as if its sheer will alone could rend stone and mortar. The collision sent shockwaves through the guild headquarters, causing sections of it to crumble and collapse. Dust filled the air as the building succumbed to the damage, its once majestic halls now reduced to rubble. The grandeur and history that once resided within those walls were now scattered remnants, lost in the wake of the destructive clash. The onlookers stood in awe and horror as they witnessed the destruction unfold before their eyes. As the dragon crashed into the crumbling Guardian Guild headquarters, the Dark Lord seized the opportunity to unleash another devastating move. With swift agility, he swooped down to the sea level, his dark flames trailing behind him. His eyes gleamed with a sinister determination as he reached out and grasped a multitude of cannons scattered across the warships. With an effortless display of strength, the Dark Lord lifted the cannons, 2 in each hand, while the remaining cannons hovered around him as if under his command. The cannons gleamed in the dim light, their metal surfaces reflecting the chaos unfolding in the sky above. In a voice laced with dark amusement, the Dark Lord taunted, "Happy Death Day," his words dripping with cruel delight. With calculated precision, he aimed the cannons towards the remaining guardians who bravely fought against him. The air crackled with anticipation as the barrels of the cannons aligned with their intended targets. A moment of silence enveloped the battlefield, the tension thick enough to be cut with a knife. Then, with an explosive roar, the cannons erupted in a cacophony of thunderous booms. Fiery projectiles hurtled through the air, leaving trails of smoke and destruction in their wake. The scene unfolded in a vivid display of chaos and devastation. The air became a battlefield of flying debris, illuminated by the fiery streaks of cannonballs. The guardians in the air fought desperately, their movements agile and swift as they attempted to evade the onslaught. The dark flames from the Dark Lord's hands intertwined with the cannon fire, casting an eerie glow over the raging clash. The sky became a tapestry of danger, with cannonballs arcing and exploding, their destructive force raining down upon the guardians who valiantly fought for their lives. The air crackled with energy, tainted by the scent of burning debris and the metallic tang of gunpowder. The outcome of this clash would determine the fate of the guardians, as their lives hung in the balance amidst the fiery storm unleashed by the Dark Lord and his cannon onslaught. Chapter 976. No more Guardian Guild. As the ethereal dragon struggled to regain its footing amidst the rubble of the partially destroyed Guardian Guild headquarters, Michael drew forth his dark swords, their blades gleaming with a malevolent aura. With a commanding gesture, he summoned the dark flames to enshroud both blades, imbuing them with dark flames. His eyes scanning the battleground, Michael focused his attention on the remaining guardians. In the sky, a group of 50 to 60 guardians hovered, their determination evident despite the overwhelming odds. Around the headquarters, a sizable force of 100 to 150 guardians stood their ground. Over the sea, 50 to 60 warships bobbed in the waves while an equal number of airships dotted the airspace above. The scene was a testament to the Guardian Guild's unwavering resolve, a last bastion of defense against the relentless onslaught of the Dark Lord. The air crackled with tension as the Guardians prepared for what could be their final stand, their numbers dwarfed by the overwhelming power of their adversary. Alara Valrin, in coordination with Salisi, made a strategic decision to lead their fleet into their own pocket dimension, ensuring their safety. This left the remaining Guardians to face the Dark Lord alone, bearing the weight of the impending battle. With his dark swords firmly in hand, Michael set his sights on eliminating the remaining guardians. In a swift and calculated move, Michael charged towards the guardians in the air, invoking his speed spell Lightning Dash. The power of the spell propelled him with such incredible velocity that he seemed to blur, leaving behind a trail of afterimages and streaks of golden lightning. The guardians, caught off guard by the sudden gust of wind, barely had time to react before their heads were severed from their bodies. The speed at which Michael harvested their heads was so astonishing that distant onlookers struggled to perceive his presence. All they could witness were the heads of the guardians soaring through the air, accompanied by a spray of blood from their lifeless, headless forms. For a fleeting moment, the lifeless bodies of the guardians remained suspended in the air, before gravity took hold and they fell to the ground, marking the grim aftermath of Michael's devastating assault. As Michael swiftly decapitated the remaining guardians, he simultaneously unleashed the power of the Ring of Flames. With a mere gesture, waves of dark flames surged forth, engulfing the airships hovering in the sky. The intensity of the flames reduced the once mighty vessels to mere ashes, their wooden structures consumed by the merciless inferno. The dark flames proved to be a catalyst for destruction, causing explosions when they reached the gunpowder barrels within some of the ships. The resulting blasts reverberated through the air, adding to the chaos and devastation. The golden bolts of lightning that trailed behind the Dark Lord left a path of destruction in their wake, as ships succumbed to the overwhelming power and guardians lost their lives in the relentless onslaught. Michael continued his relentless assault on the guardians and their ships as the dragon let out a thunderous roar and swooped down, aiming to engage him in deadly pursuit. Ignoring the dragon's presence, Michael skillfully evaded the golden energy balls that were unleashed from the dragon's mouth. His focus remained unwavering as he prioritized the task at hand, decimating the remaining guardians before turning his attention to the formidable dragon. As the dragon relentlessly pursued Michael through the sky, it continued to unleash its golden energy balls, targeting the Dark Lord. However, Michael's mastery over his abilities allowed him to evade the deadly projectiles with agility and precision. Using his wind blast, he redirected some of the golden energy balls toward the enemy ships, causing powerful explosions that shattered the vessels into countless fragments. The chase between the dragon and the Dark Lord unfolded with breathtaking speed and maneuverability. Michael deftly weaved through the air, executing quick turns and sudden shifts in direction to stay one step ahead of the dragon's attacks. He utilized his heightened senses and exceptional reflexes to anticipate the dragon's movements, narrowly evading its jaws and claws. In a display of strategic prowess, Michael seized every opportunity to retaliate against the guardians. When the dragon unleashed a golden energy ball, he skillfully directed his wind blast to intercept it, redirecting the destructive force toward the guardians who dared to challenge him. The explosive impact obliterated their ranks, leaving a trail of chaos and destruction in its wake. The cat-and-mouse chase continued, each maneuver and evasion pushing the boundaries of their respective powers. The dragon's relentless pursuit tested Michael's skill and endurance, but he remained determined and focused, determined to eliminate the guardians and emerge victorious in this epic clash of forces. The news reporters stood frozen in awe and terror as they witnessed the battle unfold before their eyes. Their faces were pale, and their eyes widened as they exchanged hushed conversations. "By the heavens, have you ever seen such devastation and power?" exclaimed a young reporter with wide eyes, clutching their notepad tightly. Beside them, a seasoned journalist, their hands trembling, shook their head in disbelief. "In all my years of reporting, I never imagined witnessing such a cataclysmic event. The Dark Lord is single-handedly obliterating the Guardian Guild. It's an unfathomable display of power." Their attention remained fixated on the scene below, where the once proud Guardian Guild headquarters now lay in ruins. The shattered remnants of the fortress served as a haunting testament to the relentless assault launched by the Dark Lord. "Look at the destruction unfolding beneath us. The Guardian Guild is crumbling, defenseless against the Dark Lord's relentless onslaught," gasped the young reporter, their voice filled with a mix of shock and fascination. Every strike he delivers tears through their defenses. The seasoned journalist nodded grimly, their gaze scanning the chaotic battlefield. Tomorrow's newspaper headlines will shake the world. The fall of the Guardian Guild at the hands of the Dark Lord will send shockwaves throughout the realm. As their attention momentarily shifted to the aerial chase between the dragon and the Dark Lord, a shiver ran down their spines. The dragon's monstrous form and the Dark Lord's swift, evasive maneuvers intensified the already gripping spectacle. "Look there! The dragon continues its relentless pursuit," exclaimed the young reporter, pointing to the sky. "The Dark Lord's agility is astounding, dodging the dragon's deadly onslaught with breathtaking precision." The seasoned journalist nodded in agreement, their eyes fixed on the aerial duel. "It's a battle between titans. The Dark Lord stands alone against the Guardian Guild, systematically decimating their ranks with each devastating blow. His power is unmatched." The reporters exchanged nervous glances, knowing they were witnessing history unfold before their very eyes. The magnitude of the battle and the impending headlines they would craft for tomorrow's newspaper weighed heavily on their minds. The imagery of the Guardian Guild's destruction would leave an indelible mark on the world, forever etching the Dark Lord's terrifying power in the annals of history. As Michael swiftly soared through the chaos, engaged in relentless combat with the Guardians, he could hear Elidir's voice resonating in his mind. Elidir, observing the war unfold through the spider nestled on Michael's neck, provided valuable guidance from the safety of the castle. "My lord," Elidir spoke urgently, "I have crafted a rune specifically designed to disrupt the dragon's ethereal form, rendering it tangible for a brief window of time. Once you identify the source of its power, activate the rune. Remember, to truly vanquish this dragon, you must strike both the creature itself and its source of power simultaneously. If we fail to do so, it will only regenerate and continue its rampage." With a sly smile on his face upon hearing Elidir's voice, Michael's confidence swelled. He had strategically positioned Elidir to witness the battle, knowing the value of his knowledge on runes and ethereal forms. It was a stroke of luck to have Elidir observe the unfolding events. Without a moment's hesitation, Michael accessed his linked space ring and retrieved a golden parchment adorned with a glowing rune. His movements were swift and purposeful, avoiding the dragon's menacing heads as he set his sights on the Guardian Guild headquarters. The speed at which he traversed the sky caused the ocean below to churn and spray, a testament to his urgency. As Michael neared the headquarters, the remaining Guardians sprang into action, unleashing a barrage of outlandish weapons. Arcane rifles crackled with energy, launching bolts of lightning, while shimmering blades glowed with enchantments as they were brandished. The air crackled with the release of powerful elemental spells and ethereal projectiles. However, Michael swiftly maneuvered through the chaos, expertly evading the Guardians' attacks. He soared higher into the sky, then dove down with incredible force, landing amidst the Guardians with a thunderous impact. The sheer power of his landing sent shockwaves rippling through the surroundings, causing the Guardians and their weapons to tremble and topple. Seizing the opportunity, Michael unleashed dark beams from his piercing eyes, obliterating the Guardians in his path. The beams sliced through flesh and armor, severing heads and limbs with terrifying efficiency. The scene resembled a scorching hot knife cutting through butter, leaving destruction in its wake. Meanwhile, Michael deftly evaded the dragon's energy balls, skillfully dodging their lethal trajectory. His movements were fluid and precise, allowing him to navigate the battlefield while simultaneously dispatching the Guardians. The combined might of his dark beams and evasive maneuvers left a trail of fallen foes and severed limbs, a testament to his unrivaled power and combat prowess. As Michael darted through the crumbling hallways and corridors of the Guardian Guild headquarters, the dragon hot on his heels, the entire building quaked under their fierce pursuit. His keen eyes scanned every inch of the surroundings, desperately searching for the source of the dragon's power. In his environmental scanning map, he detected a pulsating energy emanating from a specific location. Amidst the chaos, the walls trembled and shattered, sending debris raining down as Michael pressed forward. Finally, he descended into an underground chamber, where his eyes fell upon a captivating jade stone adorned with an intricately etched tiny dragon. Sensing its significance, Michael knew this was the key to severing the dragon's hold. Without hesitation, he reached out and snatched the jade stone, his hand trembling with determination. As he did, the dragon let out a thunderous roar, its golden energy surging toward Michael with relentless force. The impact of the blast sent him hurtling through the walls, his shoulder bleeding profusely, but he clung tightly to the precious jade stone. With sheer willpower, Michael emerged from the crumbling Guardian Guild headquarters, soaring into the vast expanse of the sky. The dragon, its existence threatened, unleashed one final desperate attempt to halt him. But with the jade stone firmly in his grasp, Michael defied the odds, his resolve unyielding. As the dragon emerged from the remnants of the Guardian Guild, Michael stood firm, clutching the jade stone and the golden parchment tightly. Knowing the moment had come, he summoned the dark flames, engulfing the scroll in his hand. The ancient rune, pulsating in a crimson hue, soared through the air and struck the dragon with precise accuracy. The ethereal form of the dragon flickered and wavered as the rune took hold, transforming its essence into a crystalline state. With unwavering determination, Michael unsheathed his dark sword, its wicked blade gleaming in the light. He lunged forward, his movements swift and precise, evading the golden energy balls unleashed by the dragon's heads effortlessly. The crystallized body of the dragon stood no chance against the dark sword's lethal edge. In a breathtaking display of skill, Michael cleaved through the dragon's defense, shattering its fragile form. Simultaneously, his grip tightened around the jade stone, crushing it with a resolute grip. The dragon let out a thunderous roar, a final cry of defiance before its entire being shattered into a mesmerizing cascade of golden light. It dissipated into the vast expanse, leaving no trace of its existence behind. As Michael's feet touched the ground, his body slumped forward, the weight of exhaustion finally catching up to him. He took deep, labored breaths, the rise and fall of his chest revealing the toll of the fierce battle he had just endured. Surrounding him, the remaining guardians closed in, their eyes gleaming with a glimmer of victory. They believed him to be weakened, vulnerable, unaware of the secret power that flowed through his veins. Little did they know, concealed beneath Michael's worn exterior, the APD hummed with quiet efficiency. The automatic potion dispenser, an invaluable ally in his arsenal, had already administered its healing elixirs into his bloodstream. The restorative potions worked their magic, mending every wound and revitalizing his weary body. As the guardians closed in, their swords at the ready, their faces twisted into triumphant grins, Michael's eyes flickered with a newfound strength. The weariness that had weighed him down only moments before now transformed into a fierce determination. With renewed vitality coursing through his veins, he straightened his posture, his gaze steady and unyielding. The guardians, oblivious to the invisible wellspring of power that surged within him, prepared to strike. Little did they know they were walking toward their death. Chapter 977 Chapter 977 No more Guardian Guild II. Inside their secluded castle, Celici and Alara observed the ongoing battle between the Dark Lord and the remnants of the Guardian Guild. The once mighty guild now stood in ruins, their defense feeble against the unstoppable force before them. Alara and her fellow council members were left with a bitter realization. The guild's days of glory had come to an end. On the table in front of them, a collection of shimmering golden crystals radiated with potent energy. These precious artifacts held immense power, capable of summoning the formidable guardian dragons. Alara's gaze lingered on the crystals, tempted to employ their strength once more in a desperate attempt to turn the tides. However, Sales's voice cut through the air, bringing her back to reality. Alara, no matter how many crystals we use or how many guardians we summon, they cannot defeat him. Celici spoke with a tone of conviction. These crystals possess a far greater purpose than they ever served in the hands of the Guardian Guild. We must wield their power wisely, for the sake of our own survival. Evan stared at the mirror, captivated by the unfolding war between the Dark Lord and the Guardian Guild. The sight filled him with disbelief. "I can't believe the Guardian Guild is on the verge of annihilation," he murmured, his voice laced with a mix of astonishment and fear. Celici, however, remained composed as she responded, her voice steady and devoid of fear. She understood the true extent of the Dark Lord's power, having observed and studied him extensively. Unlike others who underestimated him, Celici held a deep admiration for his strength. "Believe it, Evan. What you see is only a fraction of the Dark Lord's true power," she said, her eyes fixed on the mirror. Evan's hope dwindled as he pondered the question that plagued their minds. How can we possibly stop him now? If he has already reached the celestial stage, our efforts would be futile. Celici nonchalantly shrugged, acknowledging the grim reality. At this point, we can't. We are nowhere near his level, let alone capable of defeating him. That's why we must remain in the shadows and focus on strengthening ourselves. Evan's frustration was evident as he exclaimed, "But how can we hope to match his cultivation speed? He's practically a deity." Saelsis' gaze never wavered from the mirror, where the Dark Lord unleashed devastating spells that tore through the guild. Her response carried a hint of determination. "We may not match his cultivation speed, but we have the power to impede the growth of his army and slow down their progress," Celici explained, her voice filled with conviction. "The Dark Lord may be formidable, but he cannot win a war alone. He relies on his forces. While he appears invincible now, there will come a time when he meets his equals." Alara's curiosity piqued as she probed further, intrigued by Saelsis' cryptic words. She had chosen to align herself with Celici due to her keen intellect, despite the criticism that surrounded her. Many within the Guardian Guild disapproved of Saelsis' actions, blaming her for Nagaland's decline into poverty and debt. But Alara knew better. She understood that Celici had orchestrated Nagaland's downfall for a specific purpose. If Nagaland had remained a powerful kingdom under Gaia's rule, who had now become the Dark Lord's lover, it would have provided the Dark Lord with an unstoppable ally. By reducing Nagaland's strength, Celici ensured that the Dark Lord would have to divert his attention and resources towards rebuilding, thereby lessening the threat he posed. Alara recognized the dangerous game Celici was playing in the shadows, but she also acknowledged that Celici held many secrets close to her chest. She yearned to unravel these mysteries, beginning with Saelsis' notion of the Dark Lord's match. "Who are these matches you speak of?" Alara inquired, her eyes fixed on Celici, hoping for a glimpse of the truth. Celici brushed off the question with a dismissive wave of her hand, leaving no room for further probing. "All will be revealed in due time, my dear," she replied, her tone final, indicating that further questioning would yield no answers. Alara was left to ponder the hidden depths of Saelsis' plans, knowing that there was much more at play than met the eye. As their discussion unfolded, the skies above Hulwick Island darkened, a foreboding omen of the impending devastation. The once raging storm intensified, its fury amplifying with each passing moment. Alara and Celici watched in awe as the Dark Lord raised his hands, commanding the very elements to his will. The tempest swirled and roared with a newfound ferocity, thrashing the ocean waves into towering tsunamis and spawning violent tornadoes in its wake. Eyes fixed on the sky, the two women witnessed a sight both magnificent and terrifying. Giant meteors materialized amidst the darkened clouds, suspended in the air like harbingers of destruction. Their presence alone threatened to shatter the tranquility of the island and lay waste to everything beneath them. "There it is, his final spell against the Guardian Guild," Celici murmured, her voice tinged with a mixture of astonishment and respect. The magnitude of power displayed by the Dark Lord left her in awe, even as her mind raced with thoughts of outsmarting him. Alara detected something peculiar in Saelsis' tone, an unexpected admiration and a hidden desire to vanquish the Dark Lord using her intellect and cunning. There was a hunger within Celici, a thirst for victory against insurmountable odds. Meanwhile, Evan, overcome with grief, rose from his seat. His fists clenched tightly, and tears welled up in his eyes. Though he had only been a member of the Guardian Guild for a short time, his admiration for the organization ran deep. From a young age, He had yearned to serve and protect the guild, and it held a special place in his heart. The sight of its impending destruction pained him to his core, touching not only his heart but also his very soul. Celice observed Evan's anguish with a sense of satisfaction. She knew that this pain would stoke the flames of his determination, igniting a burning resolve to stand against the Dark Lord and his formidable army. It was in moments like these that Celice sought to mold her Shadow Clan, infusing them with righteous anger, motivation, and an unwavering drive to combat the Dark Lord with every fiber of their being. As Evan's tears streamed down his face, the Dark Lord lowered his hands, releasing his control over the meteoric entities. With a blazing descent, the celestial fireballs tore through the darkened sky, scorching the very air they traversed. Their trajectory led them unerringly towards the heart of the Guardian Guild headquarters and ultimately, the beleaguered shores of Hulwick Isle. The moment the meteors collided with the Guardian Guild headquarters, a cataclysmic wave of destruction was unleashed upon Hulwick Island. The magnificent building, already marred by the earlier battle between the two-headed dragon and Michael, now faced its final reckoning. The impact tore through its structure, shattering walls and scattering debris in all directions. Once grand halls were reduced to rubble, while elegant towers crumbled into a cloud of dust and ash. But the devastation did not end there. As the meteors struck the island, the very ground quaked beneath its inhabitants' feet. Fissures cracked open, spreading like veins of molten lava through the once peaceful landscape. The island itself seemed to groan in agony as fiery magma surged forth from the ruptured earth, painting the surroundings in a hellish glow. The once idyllic shores became an inferno, engulfed in rivers of flowing lava that devoured everything in their path. The impact of the meteors sent shockwaves rippling through the air, unsettling the atmosphere itself. Winds howled with an otherworldly fury, tearing at the remnants of the Guardian Guild and carrying with them the anguished cries of those left in their wake. The sky, already darkened by the storm, grew even more menacing as the magical energies clashed and mingled. Eerie lightning danced across the heavens, illuminating the chaos below with brief flashes of blinding brilliance. Meanwhile, the sea surrounding Hulwick Island rose in a tempestuous uproar. As if angered by the tumultuous events unfolding on its surface, monstrous waves rose to incredible heights. They crashed against the shores with a relentless ferocity, pounding against the remnants of the Guardian Guild and eroding what little remained of its once formidable structure. The collision of water and land unleashed a torrent of foam and spray, mingling with the scorching heat of the lava and creating an atmosphere of unbridled chaos. Amidst this devastation, the Guardians who had remained on the island found themselves caught in the maelstrom of destruction. Their valiant attempts to defend their stronghold and their cherished guild were rendered futile in the face of such overwhelming power. They were tossed aside like mere playthings by the forces unleashed by the Dark Lord's spell. The survivors, if any, would bear witness to the horrifying scene of their comrades being swallowed by the fiery abyss or swept away by the relentless waves, their brave efforts reduced to naught. As the devastating aftermath of the meteors subsided, Hulwick Island bore the scars of its encounter with destruction. The once solid landmass fractured into jagged fragments, each piece teetering on the brink of oblivion. Like a shattered puzzle, the island's integrity crumbled, and its broken remnants began to sink into the unforgiving depths of the surrounding sea. With an eerie slowness, the fragmented sections of Hulwick Island tilted and shifted as if succumbing to the weight of their own demise. The ground beneath them crumbled and gave way, sending torrents of soil and rock cascading into the churning waters below. Each piece of land, once interconnected, now became isolated, drifting apart from one another in a melancholic dance of destruction. Amidst this scene of despair, the once majestic airships and warships of the Guardians lay battered and broken. These vessels, once symbols of power and protection, now resembled mere charred and smoldering remains. Their mighty frames sagged and splintered as if drained of their very essence. Flames licked at the tattered remnants of sails, devouring the once proud masts and turning them to cinders. With a cruel finality, these remnants of the Guardians' fleet met their fate. One by one, they surrendered to the pull of the ocean's abyss, sinking slowly beneath the surface. The sea greedily claimed them, engulfing the shattered wooden pieces until they were swallowed by the dark depths. The waves, now calmer but still bearing the weight of the recent chaos, whispered mournful laments as they swallowed the remnants of the once proud fleet. All that remained on the surface were fragments of memories and scattered debris drifting aimlessly upon the waves. They served as silent witnesses to the fallen guardians and the island that had crumbled beneath the weight of unimaginable power. The sea, now a graveyard for the remnants of the island and its defenders, held its secrets close, veiling the tragedy within its eternal embrace. The onlookers, rogue cultivators, and news reporters stood at a distance, their faces etched with shock and terror as they bore witness to the destruction unfolding before them. Murmurs of disbelief and fear filled the air as they struggled to comprehend the magnitude of the Dark Lord's power. By the heavens! I've never seen anything like this, the Guardian Guild. It's falling, crumbling like a house of cards, exclaimed one onlooker, their voice trembling with disbelief. I thought the Guardian Guild was invincible. How can the Dark Lord be so unstoppable? Another whispered, their words barely audible over the roars of destruction. As the meteors descended and the island cracked, the observers could not tear their eyes away from the horrifying scene unfolding before them. The once majestic Sky Hall, the very symbol of the Guardian's might, was nowhere to be seen, leaving many perplexed and fearful. Where's the Sky Hall? How could it vanish in such a crucial moment? A rogue cultivator questioned, their voice tinged with confusion and concern. Whispers of despair and resignation spread among the onlookers, their faces reflecting a sense of hopelessness. They watched as the Dark Lord's forces continued their onslaught, seemingly invincible, and doubt crept into their hearts. I fear there is no hope left. The Dark Lord's power is unmatched, and it seems like nothing can stand in his way, murmured a rogue cultivator, their voice heavy with defeat. I never thought I'd see the day when the Guardian Guild would fall. If they can't stop him, who can? Pondered another, their tone filled with despair. In this somber moment, the Guardian's once mighty presence had been reduced to fragments sinking into oblivion, leaving behind only echoes of their valiant struggle against the Dark Lord's overwhelming forces. Chapter 978 Chapter 978 Complete destruction of the Guardian Guild. After obliterating the Guardian Guild, Michael experienced a sense of relief and newfound strength. With his formidable enemy eradicated, a weight lifted from his shoulders. He hovered above the calm sea, gazing at the remnants of what used to be Hulwick Isle. This marked the second island he had completely decimated, the first being Ithalan. Though the waves slowly settled, the storm continued to rage with unyielding fury. Moments passed as Michael floated in contemplation, his eyes fixed on the once thriving island. Then, with a serene expression, he turned away from the scene and soared through the air, leaving the desolation behind. Several hours later, Michael arrived at the site of a grand castle, its construction still underway. Eve eagerly awaited his return, accompanied by a group of Dark Army soldiers. Their curious gazes followed his every move. Eve, unable to contain her anticipation, approached Michael and inquired, "What happened?" With a calm smile, Michael answered her, "The Guardian Guild is no more." Gasps of astonishment escaped the lips of the Dark Army soldiers. As Michael walked beside Eve, he placed his arm around her neck, a gesture of familiarity rather than an embrace. Together, they proceeded to enter the castle, the soldiers trailing behind them, their eyes filled with wonder and curiosity. The castle, although only a quarter completed, stood as a magnificent testament to power and grandeur. Dwarves, renowned for their craftsmanship, were diligently working on the construction, their hammers clanging against stone and metal, shaping the fortress that would serve as Michael's stronghold. The corridors they traversed were a blend of raw stone and scaffolding, revealing the ongoing labor required to bring the castle to its full glory. Dust particles danced in the air, illuminated by beams of sunlight that pierced through the partially constructed walls. The echoes of dwarves' conversations mingled with the sounds of construction, creating a symphony of progress. As they made their way through the corridors, the soldiers' eyes wandered, taking in the meticulous craftsmanship of each detail. The flickering torches cast an eerie glow, revealing glimpses of the tapestries and ancient paintings that would soon adorn the walls. The scent of freshly cut wood mingled with the scent of stone, creating a unique aroma that permeated the air. Within the castle's embrace, the dwarves worked tirelessly, their expertise evident in every stroke of the hammer and every carefully placed stone. It was a place where shadows thrived, secrets whispered, and destinies shaped. The group continued their steady stride, their footsteps echoing against the stone floors and unfinished surfaces. Whispers of anticipation and curiosity filled the air, as the soldiers exchanged glances, eager to learn more about the outcome of the Guardian Guild's downfall. The castle seemed alive with an electric energy, pulsating with the aftermath of Michael's triumph and the promise of a formidable future. Michael proceeded to provide a concise account of the battle to his soldiers and Eve. Together, they made their way to the meeting hall, where his subordinates were already gathered. The soldiers and advisors stood up as Michael entered, showing their respect for their leader. "Please, take your seats," Michael gestured, indicating that they should resume their places. He settled himself comfortably on his throne, a symbol of his authority. As he seated himself, Sadie, his trusted aide, swiftly sent a stack of neatly stacked parchments gliding through the air towards Michael. With deft hands, he caught them and began reading each page with utmost care. These parchments contained valuable information about the prominent Great Eight clans that span the world. In the previous meeting, Michael had requested Sadie to compile the best available intelligence on each clan. As Michael engrossed himself in the contents of the parchments, absorbing the knowledge within, Eve took it upon herself to disseminate the news of the Guardian Guild's destruction to the others present. Shock and disbelief reverberated through the room as the members absorbed the magnitude of this revelation. Whispers and murmurs filled the air, as they grappled with the reality of the Guild's demise. Once Michael had finished reading the parchments, he placed the stack carefully on the table before him and directed his gaze toward Sadie, acknowledging her effort. "You have done an exceptional job. Why don't you enlighten our comrades about the details of these Great Eight clans?" Michael requested Sadie to present the information about the clans to the rest of their subordinates. Sadie stood before the gathered subordinates, holding the stack of parchments that contained information about the Great Eight clans. She cleared her throat and began to address the group. "Allow me to introduce the Great Eight clans," Sadie began, her voice clear and confident. "The first on the list is the Guardian Guild, comprised of humans, known for their military prowess and law enforcement capabilities." She continued, "Next, we have the Nightshade clan and the Stormheart clan, both consisting of humans as well. These two clans, however, are not as widely known as the Guardian Guild. The Nightshade clan focuses on exploring uncharted territories, such as treacherous oceans and dangerous Demon's Grave. They are responsible for discovering new pocket dimensions and expanding human territories beyond this world." Tiberius, one of the subordinates, raised his hand with a puzzled expression. "I've never heard of the Nightshade and Stormheart clans. Why are they not as well known as the Guardian Guild?" Sadie nodded in understanding and replied, "That's because these clans have taken a different path. Unlike the Guardian Guild, their focus is not primarily on military and law enforcement. The Nightshade clan specializes in ventures that contribute to human prosperity in other ways, while the Stormheart clan wields influence over the economy from the shadows." She continued, "The Nightshade clan's endeavors in exploring dangerous realms and discovering new dimensions often go unnoticed by the general population. As for the Stormheart clan, their impact on the economy is far-reaching, as they control a significant portion of the economic affairs of human kingdoms, working behind the scenes to ensure prosperity." Sadie paused for a moment to allow the information to sink in before moving on to the next clan. "Next, we have the Water God Hall and the Sea Serpent Hall, both belonging to the Sea Folks. These clans, however, do not involve themselves in the affairs of humans, elves, dwarves, and orcs, whom they refer to as landwalkers. They maintain their own separate domains and keep a distance from the dealings of the other races." She then moved on to describe the Gondolin Empire, which belonged to the elves. The Gondolin Empire, led by Nithroel, is considered the most powerful clan among all the Great Eight clans. Nithroel, the Elven Empress, rules Gondolin with a firm hand. Unlike other clans that rely on military might, she opts for diplomatic solutions and cunning deals in the shadows, rather than waging wars. Sadie paused, allowing the significance of the Elven Empire's power to sink in among the listeners. The subordinates exchanged glances, realizing the weight of this information. In addition to these, we have the Han Torum, a clan of dwarves known for their exceptional craftsmanship and engineering skills. Sadie continued. And lastly, we have the Ironmane Horde, representing the Beastmen, a strong and formidable race. She concluded, these Great Eight clans, each with their unique strengths and characteristics, have played significant roles in the realms. With the demise of the Guardian Guild, the balance of power among the clans has shifted. It is essential for us to understand these dynamics as we navigate the current landscape. Sadie folded the parchments neatly and placed them back on the table. The subordinates sat in contemplative silence, absorbing the knowledge of the Great Eight clans and the shifting power dynamics within their realm. Arya, the Queen of Shadows, leaned forward, her eyes piercing as she addressed Sadie. What should we expect now, with the demise of the Guardian Guild? Will the other races take advantage of this void? Sadie met Arya's gaze and replied with a serious tone. Indeed, without the Guardian Guild to safeguard the human kingdoms, they will be vulnerable to the ambitions and encroachments of other races. The absence of a powerful force like the Guild creates a power vacuum that is bound to attract various factions and individuals seeking to fill the void left behind. She gestured with her hand, emphasizing the potential consequences. Human kings and queens will act according to their own desires and agendas, without the guidance and protection of the Guardian Guild. This could lead to unforeseen conflicts, political upheavals, and even territorial disputes among the human kingdoms themselves. Sadie's voice held a note of concern as she continued. Moreover, the absence of a centralized force like the Guardian Guild might embolden other races to expand their territories or assert their dominance. The balance of power that the Guild once maintained will be disrupted, and new alliances and rivalries will emerge. She paused for a moment, allowing her words to sink in. We must be prepared for these changes and the potential repercussions they bring. The demise of the Guardian Guild leaves a void that will undoubtedly alter the landscape of the realms, and we must navigate this uncertain terrain with caution. Arya nodded, acknowledging the gravity of the situation. The subordinates around the table exchanged glances, realizing the implications of the power vacuum and the subsequent ripple effects it could have on their world. After Sadie finished explaining about the clans, all eyes turned towards Michael, awaiting his next command. The subordinates hoped he wouldn't assign them an overly challenging task, considering the immense workload they already had preparing for the Dark Lord's upcoming wedding with Gaia, the Dark Queen. Michael seemed to read their minds as he addressed their concerns. I understand that you have been preoccupied with the wedding preparations, he began. However, we must maintain our momentum. Our next target is the dwarves. They possess great capabilities, and we require their expertise to complete our castle and fulfill our future endeavors. Therefore, we shall begin recruiting the dwarves from Han Torum, Michael announced, directing his gaze at Saber, the newly appointed king of the Nightwalkers. Saber, your mission is to travel to Han Torum and present them with a choice. Either dismantle their clan or face the consequences of my wrath, Michael commanded. Eve, always eager to understand the reasoning behind Michael's decisions, questioned his approach. Why not simply order them to join us directly? She asked. Michael shook his head, his expression filled with wisdom. In the eyes of the world and the Sky Hall, we are still considered evil. The dwarves, I believe, share this perspective. If we were to recruit them directly and they accepted, they would be branded as evil as well. We do not want that. By persuading them to dismantle their clan, we can discreetly recruit the talented dwarves without compromising their standing. Some may view the dwarves as cowards, but many will recognize their decision as a necessary one, especially after news of the Guardian Guild's destruction spreads, he explained. Eve's curiosity remained unsatisfied as she pressed further. "And if they refuse to dismantle their clan?" she inquired. A sly smile crept across Michael's face at her question. "We will ensure they comply. Saber, it is your task to instill the fear of God into the hearts of the clan leaders and make them understand the gravity of dismantling their clan," he declared. As an elder vampire, Saber possessed the prowess necessary to accomplish this intimidating feat, and Michael had full confidence in his abilities. "Once we have gathered enough dwarves within our ranks, we shall proceed to the next phase of our conquest," Michael proclaimed, his devilish grin revealing his ambitious intentions. As he finished issuing his orders, Saber produced a parchment from his coat pocket and sent it flying toward Michael. "My lord, this parchment contains a comprehensive list of the unique and powerful metals found in our world, along with the most suitable ones for forging your armor. Choose one, and we shall procure as much of the desired metal as you require before the wedding," Saber offered. Eve couldn't help but express her concern for Lady Adelia, Gaia's mother, and her potential absence from the upcoming wedding. She believed it was crucial for Adelia to be present, as it held great significance for Gaia. However, Eve also knew that Gaia had entrusted Michael with the task of finding and bringing her mother to the wedding, which reassured her to a certain extent. Curious about any updates on Lady Adelia, Eve turned to Michael and inquired, "Do we have any updates on Lady Adelia?" Michael reassured her with a calm demeanor. "Azazel will ensure that Lady Adelia is brought here before the wedding. For now, let us concentrate on our mission in Hontorum and the ongoing wedding preparations." As the conversation shifted, Michael's gaze fell upon Arya, the Queen of Shadows. He entrusted her with a critical task related to the aftermath of the Guardian Guild's destruction. Michael's voice turned cold as he issued his command to Arya, emphasizing the importance of the matter. "Arya, locate the prominent figures within the Guardian Guild and eliminate them. These wealthy merchants who supported the guild pose a significant threat if they are allowed to remain alive. After losing the guild, they will be eager for revenge, and our enemies may exploit them to fund their own endeavors. Therefore, it is imperative that we eliminate them and claim their wealth for ourselves," Michael declared with a calculated tone. Michael's mind, a wellspring of cunning and ruthlessness, churned with a plethora of plans and contingencies, each crafted meticulously to outwit the forces plotting against him in the shadows. His genius, fueled by a thirst for dominance, allowed him to anticipate their moves and stay several steps ahead. With calculated precision, he orchestrated a symphony of strategies, always considering the multiple outcomes and adapting his approach accordingly. Michael's brilliance lay not only in his ability to devise intricate schemes but also in his unwavering determination to see them through, no matter the cost. His mind, an arsenal of relentless calculation, ensured that he would leave no stone unturned, no avenue unexplored, as he methodically dismantled his enemies and solidified his own position of power. The subordinates watched attentively, aware that their Dark Lord's ambitions were rapidly escalating and that the course of their world was being shaped by his calculated moves. Chapter 979. Gaia's real father. Meanwhile, somewhere else in the R continent, a sense of foreboding filled the air as a heavy downpour unleashed its fury upon the desolate forest. Deep within the shadows, concealed by the dense canopy, stood a decrepit manor, its eerie presence amplified by the relentless rain. Within the confines of one of the manor's rooms, the scene was one of desolation and destruction. Tattered tapestries adorned the damp walls, and shattered remnants of furniture lay scattered across the floor. The air was thick with the scent of must and decay, adding to the eerie ambience that pervaded the space. Amidst the flickering candlelight, Lady Adelia stood, her breaths ragged and labored, her body still trembling from the aftermath of the intense struggle that had taken place. Her once elegant attire was now torn and dirt-streaked, a testament to the ferocity of the encounter. As rainwater seeped through cracks in the ceiling, casting distorted shadows on the walls, Adelia's skin glimmered with dark scales, hinting at her true Naga form. Within the shadows, another figure lurked, his presence ominous and foreboding. With each step, the figure emerged slowly, his movements purposeful and calculated. It was Ingram, a being of ancient lineage and formidable power. His eyes glowed with a haunting intensity, reflecting centuries of knowledge and darkness. His features concealed by the shroud of mystery, Ingram exuded an aura that spoke of untold secrets and a malevolence that sent shivers down Adelia's spine. As the tension thickened, Adelia's anger surged, her voice dripping with contempt and hatred. "You cannot enter Gaia's life, Ingram," she hissed, her words laced with venomous defiance. Her unwavering determination radiated through the darkness, fueling her resolve to protect her daughter from the clutches of darkness. Without uttering a word, Ingram dashed at Adelia, continuing their battle. In a dazzling display of power, Ingram and Adelia clashed within the confined space of the room. The atmosphere crackled with an electric intensity as their respective abilities collided, filling the air with a symphony of sparks and energy. Adelia's dark scales shimmered with an otherworldly sheen, her venomous fangs bared in a snarl of defiance. With lightning speed, she lunged forward, her serpentine form coiling and striking with deadly precision. Ingram, his features veiled in shadows, moved with an unearthly grace, effortlessly evading Adelia's venomous onslaught. His eyes glowed with an ethereal crimson, reflecting the sinister power that coursed through his veins. As the room trembled beneath their explosive duel, furniture shattered, sending shards and splinters flying through the air. The walls groaned and cracked under the strain of their supernatural might. Adelia's serpent-like agility was matched only by her venomous wrath. She unleashed a barrage of poison-infused strikes, each aimed with lethal accuracy. Venomous tendrils slithered through the air, leaving a trail of hissing mist in their wake. Ingram countered with swift and calculated maneuvers, his ancient vampire reflexes allowing him to dodge and parry with preternatural grace. Their conflict intensified, reaching a crescendo of power and destruction. The room became a battlefield of chaos and ruin. The ceiling caved in, showering debris upon them, while the floor quaked under the weight of their ferocity. Arcs of dark energy clashed against swirling mists of venom, illuminating the chamber with a mesmerizing display of light and shadow. Neither Adelia nor Ingram held back, their shared history momentarily forgotten amidst their primal clash. Ingram, his movements fluid and swift, countered Adelia's venomous strikes with a display of his own formidable power. With a sudden burst of speed, he blurred across the room, leaving a trail of darkness in his wake. His hands became a blur of motion as he unleashed a series of devastating vampiric attacks, each strike infused with dark energy. Adelia, undeterred by Ingram's onslaught, met each attack with equal ferocity. She twisted and contorted her serpentine body, evading his deadly blows with a grace that matched his own. Her scales shimmered with an ominous glow as she retaliated, her fangs dripping with toxic venom. Between their clashes, Adelia seized moments to taunt Ingram, her voice dripping with venomous mockery. "Is this the best you can muster, Ingram?" she sneered, her voice laced with confidence. "Or are your once great abilities waning with age?" Ingram's eyes blazed with fury, his pride stung by Adelia's biting words. He lunged forward, his movements fueled by a renewed determination. His vampiric attacks intensified, seeking to overwhelm Adelia with their raw power. But she remained elusive, twisting and contorting her body with uncanny agility. Adelia laughed mockingly as she parried his strikes, her voice echoing through the chaotic room. "Come now, Ingram. Show me what an ancient vampire like you is truly capable of. Or have the centuries dulled your edge?" Her words were like a poison, stoking the flames of his rage. Their battle raged on, a deadly dance of power and skill. The air crackled with energy as their conflicting forces clashed and intermingled. Adelia, refusing to yield, fought back with a tenacity born of hatred and determination. She refused to let Ingram's attempts to diminish her spirit go unanswered. The room trembled under the weight of their epic struggle, its walls echoing with their resounding blows. Adelia's dark scales glistened with resilience as she countered each of Ingram's attacks with precise strikes of her own. The battle reached a fever pitch, their animosity fueling their every move. But the outcome of their fierce clash remained uncertain, as neither Adelia nor Ingram showed signs of relenting. They were locked in a deadly dance, each determined to prove their dominance. Their fight was far from over, and the room continued to bear witness to their explosive confrontation. As the battle escalated, the room became a scene of utter devastation. Furniture lay in ruins, scattered across the floor like broken memories. The walls bore deep gouges and cracks, evidence of the raw power unleashed by Adelia and Ingram. The air crackled with an electric tension, the very atmosphere seeming to vibrate with their animosity. In a final clash, their combined force shattered the window, sending shards of glass cascading into the night. Like avatars of chaos, they burst through the broken opening, their battle now taking them into the darkened expanse outside the manor. Rain poured down in torrents, drenching them in its icy embrace. Ingram's fangs elongated, his vampiric nature manifesting in all its primal glory. He landed gracefully on the rain-soaked ground, his eyes gleaming with a sinister light. Adelia, her scaled form coiled and ready, faced him with unyielding determination. A smirk tugged at the corners of Ingram's lips, his voice dripping with venom as he retorted to Adelia's earlier taunts. "Ah, Adelia, it seems your years in hiding have dulled your once sharp senses," he mocked, his words laced with condescension. "Dependent on the Dark Lord to fight your battles, are we? How pitiful it is to see you reduced to serving such a foolish cause." Adelia's eyes blazed with fury, her serpentine body poised to strike. She refused to be swayed by Ingram's words, her resolve unshaken. With a flick of her tail, she lunged forward, venomous fangs glistening in the rain-soaked night. As the rain poured relentlessly, the clash between Ingram and Adelia intensified in the inky darkness. Ingram's movements were swift and calculated, a blur of ethereal grace. He darted forward, his body contorting with unnatural agility, aiming to strike at Adelia's vulnerable flank. Adelia, her senses honed by years of survival, anticipated Ingram's assault. With lightning reflexes, she slithered to the side, narrowly evading his lethal swipe. The air crackled with energy as her scales brushed against his outstretched hand, leaving a trail of sparks in their wake. Not one to relent, Ingram unleashed a barrage of swift strikes, his hands a blur of blinding speed. Each blow was aimed with precision, seeking to exploit any opening in Adelia's defenses. Yet, Adelia's serpentine form proved elusive, her sinuous movements fluid and evasive. Adelia seized her opportunity and retaliated, her venomous fangs lunging towards Ingram's exposed arm. The sickening sound of flesh meeting fangs echoed through the rain-soaked night. A muffled growl escaped Ingram's lips as Adelia's venom coursed through his veins, momentarily impairing his movements. Refusing to succumb to pain, Ingram retaliated with a ferocious counterattack. His fists, infused with supernatural strength, collided with Adelia's resilient scales, sending shockwaves through the air. The impact reverberated through Adelia's body, momentarily stunning her, but her resolve remained unyielding. Adelia swiftly recovered, her eyes burning with an intensity matched only by the storm raging around them. She unleashed a whirlwind of strikes, each one laced with the venomous potency of a predator defending its territory. Ingram, in turn, showcased his vampiric prowess, his movements fluid and unhindered despite the venom coursing through his veins. Blows exchanged in a macabre dance, the clash of their powers echoing through the night. Rain-slicked skin met venom-laden fangs, and the air became heavy with the scent of blood and rain-soaked earth. Each combatant fought with a fierce determination, neither willing to concede an inch of ground. The battle continued to escalate, a symphony of raw power and primal fury. The storm raged on, its relentless downpour fueling their relentless struggle. With every strike, they pushed the boundaries of their physical limits, testing the depths of their resilience and endurance. Amidst the relentless clash of their powers, Adelia's voice rang out, filled with anger and determination. "Stay away from Gaia's life, Ingram!" she hissed through her venomous fangs, her words laced with a warning that cut through the chaos. "If you dare to enter her world, the Dark Lord will kill you." Ingram, his eyes gleaming with defiance, parried Adelia's attack, his voice cutting through the rain-soaked air. "The Dark Lord's power is nothing compared to the one I serve," he retorted with a hint of superiority. "I have every right to be a part of Gaia's life. I have protected her all these years while you played the charade of death and disappeared from her existence." Adelia's scaled form coiled with renewed aggression as she launched a furious assault, her voice dripping with fury. "Protected her? You know nothing of protection," she spat, venomous mist trailing behind her words. "You abandoned us. How dare you claim any right to her life?" Ingram sidestepped her attack with an agility born of centuries of existence, his voice resolute. "I may have been absent, but my purpose remained steadfast. I watched over Gaia from the shadows, shielding her from threats you couldn't even fathom. I ensured her safety when you chose to disappear." Adelia's eyes narrowed, a mix of anger and resentment flashing in her gaze. "You speak lies, Ingram. I was protecting her in my own way," she shot back, her venom-infused strikes becoming more relentless. "Your absence was a betrayal, and you have no right to claim a place in her life." Ingram deflected her onslaught with calculated precision, his voice echoing with a chilling conviction. "Betrayal? No, Adelia. It was a sacrifice. I did what was necessary to keep her safe." The relentless clash between Adelia and Ingram had taken its toll on both combatants. Breathing heavily, their bodies strained and battered, they stood locked in a momentary stalemate. Adelia's scaled form began to shimmer and morph, her figure slowly reverting to her human state. Her breaths came in ragged gasps as she locked eyes with Ingram, a mixture of exhaustion and fury etched across her face. In a surge of renewed determination, Adelia launched herself at Ingram, her fist charged with raw power. Ingram, his own weariness hidden beneath a veil of unwavering resolve, met her attack head-on. Their fists collided with an explosive force, the impact reverberating through the surrounding forest. The sheer strength behind their blows sent them hurtling through the air, their bodies propelled in opposite directions. With a resounding crash, Adelia collided with a massive tree trunk, the wood groaning under the strain. Pain shot through her body, but it only fueled her anger, pushing her to rise once more. Ingram, too, crashed into a nearby tree, the impact causing splinters to rain down around him. Despite the ache that resonated within him, he pushed through the pain, ready to continue the battle. As Adelia coughed up blood, her voice strained but filled with conviction, she uttered her words through gritted teeth. "Gaia has found someone who can protect her, love her, and cherish her like no one else can," she declared, her voice laced with a mix of pain and determination. Ingram, his own injuries evident as blood trickled from his lips, met her gaze with unyielding resolve. "No matter who Gaia finds, they cannot fill the roles of parents," he retorted, his words punctuated by a ragged breath. "Our absence has left an irreparable void." Emotions ran deep within Adelia's eyes as she locked her gaze with Ingram, her voice quivering with intense sincerity. "You had a chance, Ingram, a chance to be Gaia's father, a loving husband. But you chose your lord over family," she uttered, her voice heavy with a mix of anger and sorrow. The rain continued to pour, the steady rhythm punctuating the weight of their words and the depth of their choices. As they stood there, bruised and battered, the cliffhanger of their unresolved conflict hung in the air, leaving their fates intertwined in a web of regret, longing, and the irreparable consequences of their past decisions.